Now I'm ready. I hit record.
Yeah, okay. Well, go ahead and call the meeting to order. This will call our State Travel Economic Development Commission meeting for August 2nd, 2023 to order. The Montana Department of Commerce records the meetings electronically and will serve as the official meeting minutes. Please help the public by identifying yourself when you speak. Explain any acronyms that may be used in the discussion. If you are referring to a document, state the document name. As a final reminder, the recording will not be edited, cut, or altered in any manner. Now we will have a roll call.
Cheryl Rivas,
Here.
Richard Sangre,
Here.
Jennifer Finley. Here. Sean Backbone. Delina Cutzlerow. Here. Bryce Kirk. Gerald Gray,
Here.
Melissa Fisher. Misty Cool. Scott Osterman. I do know he's trying to get in right now, so
Yeah.
I'll fix that.
Was that established form?
1, 2, 3. As soon as we get Sean, we'll have a forum.
Okay.
And the director.
Okay.
Get the state reps in there.
All right. Call them. So with that, I will go ahead and go down the agenda. I'll ask Jennifer to say a prayer if you don't mind.
Ask for blessings upon us today, that we all may have strong hearts and do good work for our tribes in the state of Montana and anybody who visits Montana, that we be our strongest selves, that we be our best selves. And I ask for blessings on our travels home and blessings on the people who prepared our food today and blessings on the families that we left behind to attend this meeting. And that our work makes a positive difference for the people that we serve now and for the generations to come. From lunch.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody. And we'll go ahead and start with our public comment. Herb?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. I am Herb Kulow, Kulow, currently with the Department of Commerce with the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI. In February, I came to the committee and asked some questions and offered our services for the State Small Business Credit Initiative. We provide money for startup businesses and businesses that need some assistance as a result of initially COVID, but now because of the economy, if you will. I do have handouts I'm going to leave here that does indicate our interest rates from 0.5% to 3% and some contacts. Initially in February, I was looking to see if there were any tribes that have applied for Treasury SSBCI money. I recently found out that there are 2 tribes, the Little Shell and Rocky Boy, that have joined a consortium with other states in Montana to apply for SSBCI assistance. That's the good news. The bad news is there are 400 tribal applications that were submitted to Treasury. So it's going to take a little bit of time for their application to be processed and for a decision to be made. In the meantime, the state SSBCI program does have funding available. All you have to do is give me a call on the back of this handout. Or you can go to Google Montana SSBCI, and it'll also provide contact information. And that's really all I have. If you have any questions?
No, passes, right?
Yes.
Is there any question? Is that a question on there?
No.
Hi, this is Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. I don't actually have a question. I just want to make a comment. The Blackfeet tribe also applied for the SSBCI Treasury funds. However, we did not go in as a consortium with the state of Montana. We just did it solely on our own. I don't know if the gentleman was referring to those 400 applicants that are not a part of consortiums, but I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Well, that's very, very good to hear. I would like to have seen all of the tribes apply for that money, okay? The information I received, I literally received yesterday.
No, on your right.
So thank you so much for the update. If in fact your tribe, as well as those applicants, need some help in applying your programs, reach out to me personally. I did this program in 2010,
Around,
retired in 2016, and they called me
look downstairs, look by the microwave.
2022. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Go ahead, Rich. Yeah. Better you pull back there and move our applications up front.
It took us a year to get our application approved, and it was only one program. There are about 7 or 8 programs that are available. The more programs they have, the longer it takes. We had to have our applications in by February of 22. We got our money in September of 22. They did not realize they were going to have so much interest in this program. They being the church.
Well, that same thing happened with the broadband money.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
yeah, they got flooded and had so much interest in it. That
um,
a lot of tribes got left out of it.
we be proud of the state of Montana. We are the first state to be asking for our last of 3 tranches. They're developing how they're going to process that. So we're the guinea pig. State of Montana is the guinea pig. But we're proud of being the guinea pig. The money does no good sitting in our checking account.
Right.
The sooner we get it out, the better we are for the state of Montana. So, that's all I have.
Any other questions for?
Thank you.
Thanks, Herb.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update. Okay, do we have any other public comments on non-agenda items? No one online? All right, so we can, we go through the approval of the last meeting minutes, or do we wait?
So we-
All right, so then we could go into the lead service line technical assistance program.
I believe she was gonna join at 9:30, so we're a little early.
All right. How about lunch?
And Director Osterman said he's trying again, so. it should be on.
Let's do that. We can do some updates.
Okay. One thing that we're working on that is not directly tied to economic development, but I think that it is that I'm really excited about, is our tribe just developed a tribal civics curriculum. So So it was an idea that I had before I got elected to tribal council, and I thought our tribal members should have a unified body of knowledge about what it means to be a citizen of our nation. And our education department developed it. And so it developed a curriculum. So 50 years from now, anybody can teach that curriculum from our tribe. So we own it, we developed it, and it has important court cases, important information about for our people about what it means to be a citizen of our nation. And I think that's how, in the future, we have this unified body of knowledge that gets passed along, because I think there's cultural information that should be passed along, and that's harder to come to a consensus on and a unified way of disseminating that. There's all kinds of different ways you can get things from your family and, you know, things from your community and things from, you know, other places, the culture committees in different places. But a tribal civics program is more, I think, of a political nature, and I think that's really exciting to me. And so it's going to be rolled out next week, 3 days, a 3-day training on people from our community who want to go to this training on Confederacy of Chicoutimi tribal civics.
Can you share?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll ask, but I'm really, yeah, I'll have to think about that. No one's asked. I mean, it's brand new. We
Yeah.
haven't even unveiled it to our community yet.
I mean, it's a good point, because I think, I know for Little Shell, there's a lot of members that don't know what it means to be a Little Shell member, but they think they do. And it's like, well, hold on now. It's different, right? You're not a tax-paying citizen. You know, it's different than being a US citizen. We pay taxes, we have no more rights, right? So.
I don't know. I think we all pay taxes if we buy gas or get a hotel,
Well,
you know, and things like that. But I think that we have different responsibilities, you know, so I think about when I had civics in high school, learning about my responsibilities as an American citizen, learning how our system of government works, learning, I've since I turned 18, I voted as early as I could. I registered to vote when I lived in New Mexico and became a voter. And so there's different, you know, and each tribe is so different. And so how does each system, so I think every citizen of every tribe should know, how does your system of government work? Our tribe was the first tribe in the United States to develop, like, we have a constitution. We were the first tribe to do that. And so, and knowing that where our Aboriginal hunting rights are. So we have a lot of tribal members who still exercise those rights to hunt off their reservation. And so new people coming up, younger people should know where those places are. And so they could do that. They could hunt and fish off the reservation. So, you know, in Blackfeet, your system of government is different than ours, and it developed differently and for different reasons. Yours is different. So all the citizens of your tribe should know what you want them to know, like important court cases and what and how they can be a good citizen of your nation. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I'm really excited about it. And I think that as far as I know, I think we're the first tribe in the country to have a tribal civics program. It's really cool.
I'd just like to comment and say that I think having cultural identity as a Native American, as an Indian people in the state of Montana, in the United States, in the world is very important. I think it's empowering for young people and anyone at any age to learn about. It's not top secret, you know, how tribal government works. And, you know, as a council member, you know, it's a different perspective than someone who's not, or someone who's a director, or someone who's just a staff, or just a community member that just is not really interested in, you know, the politics, but it's still really important for that to share. And I think that's really good that you're doing it for your community, to let them know that, you know, civics, you know, the workings of the government, where you stand in the state as a Native American, and how, you know, how these different things can function. It's very educational, and it empowers, I think, Native people, you know, in your community to be able to understand what rights they do have, and clarification on some misconceptions. Even Native people have misconceptions sometimes, you know, if they don't know, you know, what their rights are, right?
And their responsibilities
So it's
too.
great.
Yeah.
This is really good.
And, you know, and our responsibilities too, because Indigenous people in the world are, I think, less than 20% of the population of the world. but we protect 80% of the world's biodiversity. And so I think that, our values, and I think in terms of even economic development, our values really do affect our economic development, because our tribe was one of the first tribes in the United States to establish a large wilderness area. Huge pieces of our reservation will never be developed. And we could have chosen to develop them for economic gain, but we decided not to because of our value system. So our value system determines how we do economic development, that I think is different than mainstream America. I think generally speaking, most tribes are not going to exploit their natural resources for economic gain. We're going to think of a way to also protect it, but how we fund our services through economic development, which makes us different than most other governments. We have to be entrepreneurial. So that's why I'm really fortunate that I feel really fortunate that I get to be part of the STED Commission, because economic development is essential to Indian country. We have to do it if we want to provide services to our elders and things like that. So anyway, so I'm really excited and proud about the Tribal Civics program, and I haven't seen any of the curriculum yet. So I know they've been working on it for the last, I've been on council for a year and a half, so about a year's worth of work on it so far, and with videos and lesson plans. And I asked the woman who's doing it, I asked her to do an annotated version of our treaty. So, and make it into a poster. So you could see a poster of our treaty with annotations on it and with notes about what different things mean and what they mean today, how they developed. But I think that would be really useful for people to see a poster of the treaty with annotations about, and how does this translate into real life policy now. I just wanted to share that because I think, we would be definitely willing to share like how we did that and maybe help other tribes do that too.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything want to update us?
Well, this is Powell week up in Rockaway. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
kind of started last night and then too cold tonight, and I'm glad Rachel will be up there. They'll take a look around and see how our tourism dollars are working. The three different, I call it, there's four events going on. Got the Indian relay, rodeo, powwow, and hand game. They usually send a big contingent from the Flathead Reservation to challenge Chippewa Creek.
Do
But
they
she
win?
won't know who to root for since she's part Chippewa Creek too.
Yeah.
House divided.
But it's gonna be a action-packed weekend for us, and you're all invited to come up.
Getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, since the pandemic kind of put us behind there for a couple of years, now we're ready to go full blast. And hopefully everything turns out well. We'll catch that bugger.
No, hopefully you don't get no hail.
I
Milk
hope we
River
don't.
got hail just for a short period of time. It cost like tons of damage
Oh,
for
yeah.
everybody that was there.
It's supposed to be nice.
Crazy. Like the rain, but
Yeah, not too hot.
Borrowed Gerald, I have to go up once at that now.
yeah, no hail, rain, just no hail.
Go around.
Thanks, Richard. Anything happening?
Oh,
Belknap?
lots, like probably, there's a lot of things happening at Fort Belknap, good positive stuff. We've got a lot of construction projects going on at Fort Belknap, so it's great because we've got a lot of tribal members working. Our terror office is real busy, because of all the contracting work. We've got some IHS development projects going on, expansion of the ER for our IHS clinic at the agency. And then also some doctors and nurses quarters are being constructed right now. We also have some law enforcement renovation going on, expanding the law enforcement building with an addition to the building. It's a stick build, and the contractors are moving along pretty good. We just had a site inspection last week to check in on them, to take a look at their excavation and their preliminary foundation work. That's really exciting. That's kind of my pet project. That's going to be able to give us some needed space for my law enforcement department, giving them a drug processing area, some storage, because we have a lot of drug activity on Fort Belknap, like everywhere. Same situation as a lot of metropolitan areas. We brought on an additional 2 criminal investigators. We're working closely with the BIA, drug enforcement. They're making a lot of good busts on the reservation. Things take time, but we want to make sure that we support those efforts too, because we want, we have no tolerance for drugs, on Fort Belknap. But it's a fight that everyone's fighting. So I'm really excited to support our law enforcement. Oh, plus we're going to move our dispatch from the old jail into the new building, which is going to be wonderful because they're currently in a condemned building that has no air conditioner. And it's pretty hot in there with no windows. So I'm really happy to move my dispatch over and be able to have, they are the bread and butter, communications for my officers, for officer safety. So that's really exciting. We also have the TAP program recently for law enforcement, which is a kiosk to be able to do some background investigations for various programs. So we're excited about that. We got rewarded for the SORNA program. So we're bringing that SORNA officer. He just started yesterday. So we're excited about that. But other than that, and then another piece that's not too flashy, but we are very thankful to get some tourism dollars from the state of Montana. We're beautifying and enhancing the Hayes Mission Canyon on the south end of the reservation with a bio bathroom, which is awesome because we have one already, but the canyon is so long and windy. We'd like to have another opportunity for that kind of service to the public and to visitors. Our Hayes Powwow is next weekend. We follow Rocky Boy. Let's make sure we don't have it at the same time ever, but we have our powwow next weekend, so we're excited. That bio bathroom is going to be put up like just days before the powwow. So we just got our award not very long ago, so we're pretty much done with that grant, like in less than 2 months. So we're really excited about that and thankful that we have the funds for that. It comes with a kiosk. We dedicated the powwow ground area to one of our tribal members who's just really been an integral part of, he's passed away, but we honored his family last year with a plaque, with a nice, saying about, what he had contributed to the community. He developed a lot of the campsites. He would always make picnic tables, and he did like a lot of development up in the canyon for us at no cost, just because he liked to do that kind of stuff. So we're dedicating a kiosk to him as well. So that comes with signage. Prune Martin. And so the Martin family, has the Martin store there, and then have Martin Construction too. So, but yeah, he was just a really big community oriented individual that we really respect, and we're thankful that he did a lot of that dedication to the community. Is a good example to young people, and so that's what our kiosk will show. But we don't have that done yet, so we were too excited about getting that bio bathroom. So,
Another question. What's a bio bath?
it's like a fancy outhouse that you don't need to move it. It biodegrades stuff in the hole.
Oh, wow.
So you don't have to keep moving it like a regular outhouse.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure everyone remembers outhouses at some point.
So it's like at the bottom unit of
Yeah, some kind of science in there at the bottom that
So there's
does
like a
something to
receptacle?
biodegradable stuff so that you don't have to keep moving it. And so it's kind of like a cement structure with rocks. And then it's nice though. I mean, it's just like if you, it's kind of like the bathrooms that did you go down through and you go to the river? Did you ever go into the campground at the river down there? Okay. If you've ever stopped there, it's kind of like that.
Okay, so is it like a structure or is it
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
you do?
It's
build it,
pretty
or-
big.
Or do you buy it?
Yeah, you buy it. It's like a prefab essentially. So
Okay.
they don't actually have to lay forms or anything on site. And it's fairly big. It's probably about as big as this area here. It's fairly large. And it's a unisex unit so that, you know, it's male or female. And then, so you don't have to move, and they work great for camping and rest stops and, you know, outdoors, you know, when you need, you know, to use the facilities.
Oh, that's really
And
cool.
yeah, yeah. So, and then I'm just gonna leave it at that. I mean, I've got tons of other things, but I'm just feeding a little bit of positive information from Fort Belknap.
Yeah, I
Thank
put
you.
one at my house.
Yeah, there you go.
My second bathroom.
Cheryl,
My
did you
kids
have any
last forever.
update you wanted to give?
Good morning. Updates as far as what's going on at the Blackfeet Reservation or?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, just ongoing projects. We had just completed the North American Indian Days celebration, and they're working on our arbor there. It was completed enough to do post their first stats in there, so everybody was excited about that. And then they had from the tribal tourism grant, we were able to purchase the set of bleachers and help work on the racetrack. So they did their rodeo there and their Indian relays during that weekend, and that everybody enjoyed that. And then we've got our campgrounds all open for the season, and that's ran by our manpower program, and those are pretty full and pretty exciting. That they've also got some other tourism dollars there to upgrade the restroom facilities at the Buffalo Calf Campground. And I think Rochelle and Marilyn may have both been able to attend that powwow and kind of go around to the grant sites with the manpower staff. They'll probably update us about that. And I believe Ianta was there. I never got to go to the meeting, but they had, or the little tours that they probably went on. But those I do know and see the work being done on a daily basis. And we're working with the SE group from back east. They're providing us we contracted them to provide us a feasibility and market assessment on the corridor. We call it the Blackfeet East Entrance Corridor to Glacier National Park, just to help us identify some prime investment spots and ideas for advancing tourism. And then that contract runs through, I believe, October. And with the information we received from that, we hope to use that with our to leverage for further financing and investments. And then we've got our SEDS that we've been working on. That's due for 2 years, and it's due September 30th. So that's been going well. We've been identifying projects that this council would like to see happen in the next 2 years. And then that'll be open to the public for a 30-day review, public comments, beginning in August. And then it'll close in September, and then we'll get it off to EDA. So we're pretty busy. Of course, there's lots of grants we review. As you probably all do, there are a lot of infrastructure tracker grants out there. And that's where I could see probably some help. Right now, I'm at this NADC conference in Billings, and we were just talking about how perhaps maybe in the future we should have somebody with technical assistance to help us kind of streamline those, because we're getting the information. And I want to thank Marilyn for getting that to us. But you know, sometimes information overload. I think what we need, because we're short staffed, and what I was telling this group is probably what we need is somebody to kind of, if you will, screen them, and maybe do outreach with the tribes, with their planning departments or CEOs, whoever they, you know, identify, to really determine what grants we should chase, because they all require a lot of time, a lot of data, you know, a lot of coordination. So looking at all of them daily is almost overwhelming. And sometimes, you know, maybe a DOE grant isn't something that we want to chase because we don't have an energy department, but we might want to go after, like, you know, infrastructure, because we need to get water and sewer, laid before we can do any development of buildings. So just those types of things. And so they're willing to explore that because they've also helped with the coordination of streamlining the SEDS process for all the tribes. And I think all of you are probably aware of that with Sue Taylor out of NADC. So they're really a good group to work with. And I just advocate there to continue using their services. And so that's really right now off the top of my head I could think of. But thanks for asking about the updates.
Yeah, you bet. Sean, any Crow updates?
Yeah, it's Sean. Backbone, Crow updates, we're just on, we got the grant, the state tourism grant, so it was 25,000 for like billboards and kind of different things, so it really helped with the upcoming Crow Fair. I think we, first time we ever got it out there. And I've been working with Yellowstone County with their chamber and KTVQ too. So there'll be some ads coming out, some commercials to bridge that gap of economics, I guess. I always go back to like right now, we'll be getting 175 each from our per cap from the coal sales. So that's each $100 is $1 million. So it would be like 1 point some odd million that would be coming to Billings, because infrastructure is, we don't have infrastructure and we don't have economics because we have a 15%. That's all that stays in the dollar in the reservation. All the dollar leaves. So I came to the chamber in Yellowstone County and asked them how can we bridge that gap culturally and then economics. So they're trying to kind of help us with some sponsorships to cover that. And then at the same time, 45 minutes away is the biggest encampment in the world and nobody ever goes there. And we bring all our funding over here and they never take their funding over there. So we're trying to bridge that gap. So this year, my camp was kind of like the main open camp. So when they come, we can kind of show them where to go and all that. And so it's been pretty good. It's been, I mean, it's heck, 15 days away, it's just like that. So we're kind of really running around like the Jetsons. But we're excited. It's first time the arbor is brand new. It's a state-of-the-art arbor. So the economics is we're kind of hit and miss. We got $1 million arbor, but we don't have a tribal building. Economics infrastructure. Crazy. So yeah, that's my report. But it's pretty. I mean, August is really busy in Indian country. So it's kind of fun to be part of this and then kind of keep going and see where we can kind of still bridge the gap in all the areas. I know Prune. I know the Martins, his son was one of my basketball players over state champs over there.
Nice.
I have the key to Hayes.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Welcome to
Yeah, good
Hayes. Yeah,
people, yeah.
you bet.
Good. So I guess getting back onto the agenda now, we can go with approval of the May 17th meeting minutes.
Leanne Taylor had a question.
Oh, okay. She unmuted.
I am.
Hi,
Good morning,
Leanne.
everyone. That was really great to hear everyone's updates. I just wanted to kind of go off of what Cheryl Rivas had said. Thanks for bringing that up, Cheryl. We have been having talks about exactly that. Don't know if it can be a true grant writer, but with our new program manager for Indian country, which that's still out there, we are going to be starting interviews this week just to let everyone know. And we'll probably reach out to Chairman Gray or somebody to see if anyone would like to be on the final interview panel. So I just wanted to bring that up, that we are looking at exactly that. That would be the role of the program manager to meet with tribal leaders on each reservation or tribal entity to look at some of these things, projects that some of the federal monies might be able to go towards so that it's a little more organized. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing that up, Cheryl, and let you know that we're looking at exactly that. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so then we'll look at the May 17th meeting minutes. That's there in your packet. Get a motion to approve. So move, Chairman. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a second by Sean. Any further discussion? Comments on the meeting minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, not hearing it. Okay. All right, now we can go to lead service line. Is Susan on?
Yes.
Okay. Susan. you're up.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for allowing the time for us to present and share this information with you. My name is Susan Brurud, B-R-U-R-U-D. I live in Havre, so right in between Rocky Boy and Fort Belknap, which I enjoy both of those areas. If anyone's been out to the Bear Paws this spring, they can just see what a treasure that is, because it has just been absolutely gorgeous there. I really appreciate the time. I'm looking forward to working with all of our tribal nations to help this project roll out as smoothly as possible, and also, you know, in a way that we can collaborate and really have an open conversation. I really look forward to your guidance moving forward as to the best path that we can take to make sure that each individual tribal nation is able to help provide safe, clean drinking water to your nations. We changed a few little bits. If you have the packet that Marilyn was so nice to print out. So as we go through the slides, there's just a few things you might want to like update. I also sent the updated version, and I can send that to each of you individually if you would like, so that you can share that. So we have several different of our collaborators on this call. We have Greg Montgomery from DEQ, Sandy Koenig, also from DEQ, Emily Gillespie from Region 8 EPA, and we may have, did I miss anyone? I think that's everyone. We might have a couple other people on here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here with you. Can you enable my screen sharing, please, Marilyn?
Does it work, Susan? I updated it.
Okay, let me try it again. There. Can you see my screen now?
No, we cannot.
No.
Okay.
There it is.
There it is. Yay, we always love it when technology works, right?
Oh, yeah.
So on this first screen, this is a really good opportunity for you to see all of the different players right now that are available to work with your communities as we work to do our lead service line inventories. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the technical assistance. Greg later will talk a little more in depth on what the inventories actually are and why they're required. And then we'll take you to our site to show you how your communities can apply for the technical assistance. And then at the end, we'll talk about some funding of opportunities. And then we'd love to have any comments or questions or input from the commissioners. So the lead service Line Inventory Technical Assistance Program. This is a partnership between DEQ and the Montana Department of Commerce. The purpose is to provide technical assistance to all the public water systems that are required, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, who's required to complete their lead service line inventories by October 16th, 2024. So that's coming up pretty quickly. This must include all service lines that are connected to the public water distribution system, regardless of the ownership status. So why is lead service line inventory so important for our communities? We've known for decades that lead affects our people, our citizens in a negative way. Major health risks are to our youngest ones, but also for adults. It is a toxic metal that is harmful to our health. It also bioaccumulates over time. So if you were exposed as a child or even as a fetus in the womb, that is kept in your body. And other than a very expensive process such as chelation that would clean your blood, it's always got to be there. It's not something that can be removed. Sorry. Adults also at risk. Adults are exposed to lead. They can suffer cardiovascular effects, increased blood pressure, hypertension, kidney function, reproductive problems for both men and for women. And in some cases, it even causes seizures, coma, and death. So I'm going to turn this over here to Greg Montgomery. He's going to talk a little bit about where some of the sources of lead in drinking water come from, and then also the inventory itself. But I'll just keep moving the slides. So Greg, you just tell me when to go.
Okay, thanks, Sue. So again, my name is Greg Montgomery. I'm in the Public Water Supply Bureau at Department of Environmental Quality, and I work on our lead programs. The lead and copper rule, which is what this program is under, as well as the lead sampling in school program. So this slide just really shows you the sources of lead where we see it in drinking water. And you know, the Commerce's program and the lead and copper rule really focuses on that service line. So that's what connects from the water main to, in this case, the house. So everything kind of in between those two, that's considered the service line. And that's what this program is really focused on. But this slide also shows you it's not the only source of lead that we see in drinking water. It can be in especially old fixtures. You can see it in galvanized pipe. The solder used for copper pipe, especially before 1986, had pretty high levels of lead in it as well. So again, this program just really focuses on the service line on the outside of the building. Next slide, Sue. So this, you know, who has to complete lead service line inventory? So EPA revised the federal lead and copper rule last year, and one of the big revisions in that rule was a requirement that all community systems and non-transient non-community systems are required to do a inventory of their service lines. And so again, for public water supplies, they're really in three kind of classifications. So there's community systems, which are your towns, subdivision, sometimes trailer parks, nursing homes, places where people actually live, and that serve greater than 15 connections, meaning more than 15 service lines, or 25 people per day for at least 60 days a year. The other group that this rule applies to are the non-community, what we call non-community, non-transient public water supplies. And those are your schools that have their own well. It could be a business or a commercial building that may not be hooked up to the town, but may supply their own water to their facility that have more than 25 employees working there. So it's really It's not a transient population. It's people that are employees that work there, the same location every single day. And then the last classification for public water supply is a transient system. So those are your bars, restaurants, campgrounds, rest stops that have their own water supply, but the people that use that water constantly change. So for that group, this requirement doesn't apply to. It's really focused on the community systems and the non-community, non-transient systems. And as Sue mentioned earlier, so this requirement that was in lead and copper rule, the inventories are due on October 16th of 2024. So a little over a year from now. Sorry, next slide. So this one just kind of shows you, gives you an idea of what a service line is. And again, it's going from, it's basically the line that's connecting from the water main to basically, you know, the foundation of a house. So it includes, and that's regardless of ownership. And every town or community may be different on who owns this service line. Some communities, you know, the homeowner owns up to the water main and they're responsible for the line. Some communities, the water department may own all the way up to the building itself, or in some cases it's split, like at the curb stop or the shut off, wherever that happens to be. So this just really shows you what that service line is. And regardless of who owns it, the water system's responsible for inventorying it. So they simply have to say what the materials are. Next slide. So this one just gets into some of the investigation methods that communities can use to determine what type of service line they have. And these methods are more the on-site, more intrusive methods that can be found. One is simply just a visual inspection. So if the water service line enters somebody's, you know, if they have a basement and enters through the concrete wall, a lot of times you can see what that material is just by looking at what the material is coming through the concrete. And you can easily tell with various methods, whether that's a lead line, is it a galvanized line, is it copper, plastic, things like that. Then there's certainly other methods like water sampling, water sampling program that can be used to determine if lead is present, excavating or potholing using like a backhoe or a vacuum truck to simply kind of daylight that service line to see what that material is. There's all things like predictive modeling, which is like a statistical analysis. And then EPA is constantly looking at other methods that could be used to determine what that line is. But really a lot of these, you would kind of go to these steps once you've exhausted a records review, which we'll get into in a minute. Next slide, Sue. So this slide just gets into the material classification, what EPA is really looking for. So every service line connection that public water supply has, they'll have to classify that line into one of four categories. Is it lead? Is it galvanized requiring replacement? Is it non-lead, or is it unknown? Galvanized requiring replacement is can be confusing. Simply that means there's a galvanized line, the service line is galvanized, and either there's lead immediately upstream of it, or there was lead at some point upstream of it. And that would consider that a galvanized requiring replacement. And that's because galvanized can absorb lead. So if there's lead up, you know, hooked to that galvanized line, over time, the galvanized will absorb that lead and then later release it. So it essentially acts as a lead line. These four classifications, we help the systems classify it for them. So they're going to be going out and taking basic information of what the material is to the best of their knowledge. And we have a template that the water systems fill out, and that template will automatically kind of calculate which each service line, what category each one falls into. Next slide. So this would be more like the first step a water system would go through to determine this is the series of steps they would go through to determine what that material is. So really the first step is the system's going to look at what they have from historical records. So looking through for plumbing codes, water records, maybe they know when that home was built. So Montana adopted the lead ban at the end of 1987. So any homes or structures built after 88 or 88 or after, you can assume is non-lead. But looking through the records, some of the old records might say what that service line was made of. Sometimes they don't, but that's really the first step, seeing what that community has for permits, records, things like that. And then if those kind of all, you don't find the information in there, then you'd more go to the on-site methods, which would be visual inspection, sampling, excavating, modeling, things like that. And then once the system has gone through that whole process, again, if the tribal system is under DEQ, meaning they have a MT in front of their ID number, they would submit their inventory to the DEQ website. If the tribal system is under EPA, they would submit, EPA is a separate template that they use for inventories. They would submit that one to EPA. And then the other just thing to note is that these inventories have to be made publicly accessible. So the bigger communities, I think we have 4 in the state that are over 50,000 customers, like the big cities, they would have to make their inventories accessible online. All the other communities simply just have to make it publicly accessible. They can put it online, they can have it available at their office. Basically, any way, if a customer requests to look at it, it has to be accessible. Next slide. Okay, I think that's you, Sue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who is eligible for the lead service line technical assistance? Because this is at no charge. This is going to be provided to your communities. So as Greg mentioned earlier, the community and non-community, non-transient water systems, and I know that gets a little complicated, so you'll probably refer back to the map that Greg presented earlier. We still do. Serving less than 10,000 people, including systems on tribal land. So we're really excited to be able to partner with our tribal nations, and I will probably be your lead contact for that, for technical assistance. So if you have questions on whether a community is qualified, whether they're under a Montana DEQ system or whether they're under an EPA system, feel free to reach out and contact me or anyone else that we provided on that initial list. The priority for the lead service line technical assistance is the development of the lead service line inventory. There's going to be other qualified activities such as helping have a lead service line replacement plan, and possibly looking at different funding scenarios and other assignments that can be approved by DOC, by us through the technical assistance program as we partner with DEQ. And so it's really easy to request technical assistance. I'm going to take you to the website in just a moment here. But basically, they will go on, they'll submit a request for technical assistance via the Commerce Lead Service Line link. I think you can also get there through the DEQ page. And it is a very short, I think there's like 18 questions. And they're like, where are you located? What is your public water system number? That type of thing. So nothing too in-depth. Systems will then have the opportunity on that to also indicate if they have an engineering firm that they're already working with, or if they have a CRDC, a Certified Regional Development Center that they're a member of, like such as Bear Paw region could work with Fort Belknap and Rocky Boy along with their engineer. That can be provided in that information. We have 16 different service providers throughout the state that have contracted with us, and they will be able to help provide assistance and even subcontract if needed. So TA will be assigned as requested if capacity allows. If we have some that are just really too many on that side and we don't feel like that inventory is going to be able to be done in time, we may look at possibly making a different assignment. Also, we'll look at, you know, how far you are away from some of the different service providers, what type of work you need, the quality of work that they've provided to us, and their timeliness in reporting. So these procured service providers, we call them PSPs, and how are they going to help you? So when assigned by us on our technical assistance team, we request from them a scope of work and they have to submit that to us, and we make sure it has everything in it that we want to have included before that contract is signed. And that contract must be signed before they start the inventory in your community. The assigned provider may contact your community and determine your inventory needs. For example, I had a community call me the other day and they said, well, we sent out postcards and we've got like 300 done out of 900, but 600 is still a lot for us to do. That's where a service provider will really help them kind of get to that finish line of getting that inventory in the proper format and submitted to DEQ or EPA. Currently, we're looking at that scope to be about 100 hours per project. It just depends on the size of the community. Some of the smaller ones may need less. Some of the bigger ones may need a little bit more. So we're flexible on that and how we'll provide it. And then when the project is completed, that primary procured service provider will submit documentation of the project completion to us at the TA program, and they will provide the system with a copy of the inventory, since this is a project that will be an ongoing project for every system. And then they'll also make sure that it is submitted to the proper template to either EPA or DEQ. So before I get into the website, I just wanted to take a moment and see if the commissioners have any questions or comments up until this point.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, it's Sean. I just wanted to, so let's say, if that tribe already has a water compact that's supposed to do, they passed it and they're supposed to get everybody free drinking water and all that, does that overlap that or no?
Are you referring to like the regional water systems?
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is for lead service lines.
okay.
So it would be separate because those lines, either the regional water system will be bringing you water and we'll want to make sure that you have good lines before that happens, or you know, you may already be good to go. But yeah, this doesn't affect the funding that you already have under that compact or your priority rights for water. Is that
Yeah.
what you were asking, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other question is, so you got EPA and DEQ under that. Where does the BIA kind of fall into this?
So
Because
Indian,
we have a water system that when the tribe goes to and the BIA says it's not there, whatever, and it doesn't connect at all.
you know, that
And they just
probably
give us a
would be
quick runaround, so we just kind of still drink lead water.
Sean, if I might jump in really quickly, I work a little bit with some of your utilities, and so BIA is responsible for this lead service line inventory in Crow Agency, but the communities of Pryor and Wyola would be tribal responsibility to complete those lead service line inventories. So you would probably, if you were looking for technical assistance, you'd be applying on behalf of Pryor and Wyola, but not for Crow Agency.
Okay,
Did that answer your question?
yeah,
Okay. And some of those, like, we'll just have to kind of take as they come piece by piece. We know that throughout Montana, we're so diverse. There's always going to be some unique situations, but those are really great questions. So thank you for sharing those. So can you now see my,
Hold on.
oh, sorry.
I have one question. So on the slide, it says the LSL inventory is required by October 16th. Is that required in order to receive the technical assistance or?
The technical assistance is what will help you meet that deadline for EPA.
So
the
who's required to provide this inventory?
all of the water systems that are in that original chart that Greg showed. All public water systems that serve more than 25 users.
Even tribal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, thank
Nope.
you, Chairman Gray. I just have, this is Delina Cuts the Rope from Fort Belknap.
Hi.
I just had a couple questions. So Fort Belknap, we own and manage our own water system, and I have to say that it's a very dilapidated, outdated, expensive system that IHS and BIA conjointly put in for the tribe back in the 50s and 60s or whatever. And it's a tough system for us to keep up with. We're constantly going after funding to improve our outdated water system. We have issues with collections, of course, it's a fight, just like any small water system. We have challenges with collecting adequate revenue, to keep maintenance of the system. We have a new, we call our program Prairie Mountain Utilities. It's our water utility department. We have a new director that's really working diligently on baseline revenue as well as collection. The tribal council supporting collections more than they have in the past. So I guess we also comply with EPA. We usually get letters directly from the EPA, and our utility department director, she responds to those in coordination with one of our tribal attorneys that's assigned to that team, as well as our environmental engineer that works by IPA contract through the IHS. And then we also have our tribal EPA department, Ina Nespers. She's our director there. And then we have a water quality program, a Brownsfield program, things like that. So, I defer to these folks, to get involved, and knowing that we already comply with EPA, to be honest with you, I haven't received a letter because we usually have pretty close conversation. I'm not saying that, EPA doesn't demand this, and this is a very valid, initiative. My thought is that the technical assistance is free inventory work, right? That doesn't cost the tribe anything or the utility. But what about the fix? Is there going to be funding available if we participate and cooperate? Because we're going to need it at our utility. We're concerned, and we don't want lead, in our water system at all. We currently are in good standing with the EPA right now, but I just had some questions because not every reservation is the same. So I wanted to know how many reservations manage their own water utility. I wanted to know how many have to comply with the lead inventory. Obviously, it's an EPA requirement. And then I just wanted to know, if there's, is this because tribes are in non-compliance with their utility? Or is this just I understand it's a natural EPA thing, but what partnership will the TA also include helping us encourage Indian Health Service to step up and make sure that tribes that don't score very high on their applications for water infrastructure development projects, we don't score very high because we're rural. the housing the housing areas on a project don't meet the metropolitan area scoring. And so, we have issues with that. Will the TA also assist us, with trying to overcome those challenges and take care of the labor costs, the material costs, to make these corrections if they do pop up? Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Those are really valid and really important questions. And some of them are much broader than this, but we are going to cover a little bit more about funding at the end that you can access by completing this technical assistance. So it will help show overall like what the lead lines are, but then there's also a plan that we can help you put in place. Also within the Community Montana division, I can put you in contact and I can help facilitate that to discuss some of your other funding options on a broader scale, because I am familiar with Fort Belknap and your water system and the aged condition that it is in. And so this particular service is for the lead service line inventory, but ultimately, the goal of Commerce and of Community Montana, our infrastructure program, is to assist you with getting, the funding to be able to update that system. So do you mind if I reach out to you separately and see if we can set up a discussion specific to Fort Belknap's system? Maybe have Prairie Mountain Development be a part of that, and some other agencies.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I just want to add just a little bit to that. It's good to see you, Delina. It's been over a year since I was at Fort Belknap. Yes, the mandate for the lead service line inventory is national. It applies to every public water supply, both tribal and non-tribal. So it has nothing to do with compliance or non-compliance. Every system that is currently in compliance is being asked to do this. And we know that this is a huge lift and it's an extra ask on behalf of EPA. And so this is, one more thing that your utility with limited resources is being asked to complete. And so that's why Department of Environmental Quality and Montana Department of Commerce are trying to help fill that gap, because it is a heavy lift. And so we can talk more at the end about funding for the lead service line replacement, but there is substantial tribal funding available for lead service line replacement, and we can talk more about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Cal. Thank you, John.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Delina. Are there any other questions before we move on? This is great conversation, and this is exactly what we want to be able to, have this conversation and know how we can provide the best service for each of our tribal nations that are involved in this. So can you see, sometimes this works and it doesn't. So can you see our website?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, perfect. Yay, I love it when this stuff works right. Okay, so this is our website for going on for tribal assistance and for technical assistance for any community. And you're just going to go here to this request help inventorying lead service lines. Like I said, it's just going to ask, where you're located, what your public water system ID is. If you have a SAM number, which I'm not sure whether tribal entities are required, that I could look into that a little bit more. It's going to ask if you want additional assistance. We'll talk in a little bit about some different promotional items that we're going to have that will help you carry out some of these projects. So here's like all our reporting templates. These are if you're a DEQ system, which means you're going to have an MT number, as Greg mentioned earlier. This is for public water systems that are in Region 8 that are reporting to EPA. So they're a little bit different, but again, your PSP will help you with those templates and make a plan with your community. Here we have our lead service line community education toolkit and some digital assets. This is some information where you can go if you're having a public service meeting, or if you're wanting to just be able to get out with your public water systems across your tribe. I know that some areas have many.
Business.
Yes.
What slide are you on?
I'm still on the website.
Okay, we can't see that now. We just see the new LSLTA application and program info.
Okay. So when I scroll down, you can't see that open up for you.
No, you're still on the slideshow.
Sorry. We walked through this and it did it. Now it's not. Okay. So, I will give you the website and we can walk through there at the end. One of the assets that we are providing on there is for different communities as they want to like maybe put something out that says, you know, community meeting tonight at, you know, your location. And then you could pull one of these assets off of our website and add it to your social media posts or however you communicate best within your region. So we really wanted something that the commission feels like best represents your communities and your nations, and would like to pick 2 images out of all of these adorable, beautiful images that the commission would like to see for us to share on our site. So as you can see, each image will have all of these different assets. So this one talks more about, you know, the technical assistance program, but this one is, you know, would be more specific if you were having a meeting within your community and you wanted to put it out either on a poster, on social media. You could put in your part, come join us this night, da, 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 and then they could click here for more information. So I know this is maybe a hard thing to like pick out of all of these 2 you like, or if you have some different thoughts of what you feel represents Indian country the best that you would like to see, we can pull together some other assets. So would you share your thoughts with us on these? And these will go out on LinkedIn, Facebook, like Instagram, at both the state level, and then be available for you to use at the local level for your meetings.
Thoughts? I think that's fine.
Do we have a favorite?
Oh, are you asking us to pick 1 or 2 of
I
these?
think so.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what made
So-
it real nice.
oh boy.
Oh boy. Yeah, and we could probably do 3, but we want to, with our other ones, we've kind of had one that's like statewide, one that's more for like workers. And then we wanted a couple specific that you felt were your favorites. You'll have to look at.
Yeah, some water.
Yeah.
I like the ones with the 3, I think it's 3 women on top.
Yay, that was one of my favorite ones.
And
I
then-
really love that.
and I like the drum one.
Yep.
This is Jennifer speaking. And then I like
Okay.
the one with the baby as the center, because I think if it's water, you know, we'd want to emphasize that this affects children and affects people.
Right.
Those three
The one
ones.
with the mom and baby, or with the
Yes.
dad and the baby?
The mom and the baby.
Okay. And I would be open to coming out and shooting something more specific to, like, we really looked for like a grandma holding a little one drinking water, but everything we found was out of bottled water. And we really we want to promote our water being, our drinking water. So if there's something different, I could come and do some different photography, but those were two of my favorites. And then because I'm a horse person, I just had to put your beautiful paint up there. So the mom with the baby, and then I think there's actually 4 women on there. There's one at the very end you can't really see.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're
Okay.
right. I just saw that now. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has a really strong feeling that would maybe want to see another one, or we think those two are pretty indicative? I like the drum one as well. I think someone said they liked the drum one. But any other thoughts?
Anyone?
All
Okay.
look good to me.
Whoever holds your peace.
Oh, they're all-
This is the line. I'll go with number 2. On
But
from on
no.
the top.
Yep.
I mean, just to get something out there.
Okay. And we can use some of these images in some of our other pieces that we're going to be putting together for you to be able to share within your communities.
Oh, 2. The drum and the 4 ladies.
Yep.
That's the Linus pick. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your input on that. I really appreciate it. Okay, so back to this lead service line, not as fun as the beautiful pictures that we just, so just a reminder that the hours worked prior to the contract date cannot be reimbursed. So if you have someone, calling you and you have not received that information from us, that this is your contracted provider, that cannot be reimbursed. So please make sure that they have had an official technical assistance assignment and that we have approved the scope of work prior to having any work happening on your community. Now, that's not to say that you can't have your own specialists start working on maybe gathering some of those things. But your service providers, in order to be reimbursed, need to be contracted. So what happens with the lead service line inventory? I think I have Greg. You're gonna go through this?
Yeah, I can go through this.
That'd be great.
So I guess the main point of the slide is the service line inventory that's being put together is really meant to be, it's not a one-time thing. It's really meant to be a living document. That one thing can also be used by the communities just to keep track of what they have for service line inventories to help them with maintenance and projects in the future. But also, mainly to keep track of, if you do have lead service lines in place, knowing where those are and then coming up with plans to replace those. And then one of the other requirements in the new lead and copper rule is that these inventories will have to be updated. And the updates, at most would be annual, up to 3 years. And it's really going to follow whatever that public water supplies sampling plan is. So if that water supply samples every 3 years for lead and copper, they would have to update their inventory every 3 years. But the most it would be annual. And it's really to take into account any changes in your distribution system. If you've replaced lead service line, you definitely want to document that and update that. And the other thing that just noted with the lead service line inventory itself is really kind of the main, it's the biggest new requirement in the lead and copper rule revision, but also all the other additional actions that were required under the new rule are directly tied to the inventory. So one thing is, if you do identify you have lead service lines in your community, you do have to put together a lead service line replacement plan. Also, systems will have to do new site sampling plans. Some of the sampling procedures may change. A lot of that, though, is tied to your inventory. So if you don't have your inventory done, you can't do those other steps. And yeah, and then as we get into in the next couple slides with funding, the inventory, and then really has to be done first to identify if you have lead service lines. Replacement plan has to be in and that kind of opens up the potential for funding. So in order to get either funding through DEQ State Revolving Fund or through EPA and IHS, you have to basically identify projects. You have to identify where those lead service lines are so you can build a project to apply for funding. And Sandy Koenig with our State Revolving Fund couldn't make this call, so I'll go over this this slide. So this funding only applies for the systems that have an MT number, so that are regulated by DEQ. And I think for a lot of the tribal systems, mainly that's on the Flathead Reservation. There's a number of systems that are under DEQ jurisdiction for those. So this program is really set up for those. And Emily will kind of go over the ones for that are on tribal under EPA in the next slide. But for the State Revolving Fund, Montana can receive up to 140 million over the next 5 years. So that's about 28 million per year. This came through the bipartisan infrastructure law from 2001. And this funding is separate from the normal State Revolving Fund. And this is specifically to address lead service line replacements. So once you've identified that you have lead service lines, you come up with a project, you can apply for this funding. The process is the same as a regular State Revolving Fund process. You have to submit your projects for approval. You fill out unified application, kind of go through that process. It is a loan forgiveness program, so there's always going to be an aspect to a loan for it. There's no match required, and the interest rate is 1.5%. So it is lower than what the standard SRF loan would be. In the loan forgiveness part, if a system is eligible, they can get up to 60% forgiveness to a maximum of $2 million. And just one thing to note with this program, and these just kind of specifics, especially with that percent of the forgiveness, this is how it's set up for our current funding year. Each funding year, we have to reapply for the funding. So this could change a little bit on, that 60% could be 59%, or it really just depends each year. We could see some variation in percent forgiveness, as well as who qualifies for that forgiveness, meaning the disadvantaged status criteria. I think this is Emily.
Thank you. For those of you who have worked with your Indian Health Service engineers before, this process for receiving funds on the lead service line replacement is going to feel very similar. So as a part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, a certain amount of money was provided to non-tribal as well as tribal water systems. And the way the tribal funds come through is they come to EPA and they come to Indian Health Service. So it's really a matter of once lead service lines have been identified as being present in a community, then EPA and your utility staff we'll work to get that project on the what we call the SDS list, the sanitation deficiency list. And that's the mechanism by which EPA can fund projects as well as Indian Health Service. And there is a substantial amount of national funding for lead service line replacement for anything within Indian country. So I would anticipate that literally every line that you come across can be funded through this process. With the SDS list, it's 100% grant. So we just need to get you in the project queue. And the more complete the inventory is, the easier it is to identify the project for construction. And that's one of the aspects to Indian Health Service is how construction ready it is. So as soon as those lines are identified as having lead, it's a pretty simple process for them to get, you know, construction and engineering documents put together for those replacements. So those projects can move more quickly than some of the others that take a bit more planning. So we definitely will work through that. I have other staff at EPA that will assist as well. But if you have lead lines determined to be in place, we can get those on the list and ready to be replaced as soon as possible. I don't know if you have any other questions about that funding process. I did want to note really quickly that besides the Salish Kootenai communities, which primarily Polson and Ronan and Pablo are all regulated by Montana DEQ, on the Crow Reservation, Lodge Grass is also regulated by Montana DEQ. So we would just want you to follow the state process for those. But anybody that has an EPA public water supply number, it starts with 08. 08, and you probably have worked with EPA staff in the past, and that would be the route you take. Any questions for me?
Questions?
This is
Yep.
Delina, Chairman Great. I just want to make one final comment. It kind of jumps back to Commissioner Sean's comment about water compacts, water settlements. You know, the governor stopped by and visited Fort Belknap just, you know, earlier this month and earlier last month in July. And he asked the same question because I was telling him how we were going after grants for water sewer infrastructure development through the Treasury and, for various grants. I mean, how could you not, right? And he just asked the question. He said, well, how does that affect your water settlements, right, Delina? And so even the governor has questions. So I'm sure that the tribal council will have questions. So I would make a suggestion that if there's any presentation to council, and I'm exploring this, further with my team back home, but to kind of clarify to tribal council that this does not negatively impact, congressional appropriated funds for water settlement or compacts for water infrastructure projects that are listed in the economic development piece of your bill. Or is it considered duplication or, doubling up, I guess we have errors.
Yeah,
we have the language in the bill to say that, which I don't see it, and I think it's fine, but I think you might want to mention that whenever you do a presentation, or whoever the TA comes to the council, make sure you have an answer for that. Familiarize yourself with tribal government's bills for water settlements and compacts, double check their water infrastructure part pieces, and make sure that, that nothing like this is like going to hurt us, for duplication. And we should do our own due diligence as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can speak to that just a bit. This is separate from any compact settlement. So there are a number of communities. I know that Blackfeet, Crow, Fort Belknap are all in the middle of current settlements, and this is separate and independent of that. It will not impact those funds. Likewise, the SDS list, even after you used a technical assistance provider to complete the inventory, even using the SDS list for replacements doesn't compromise that. So those, there are a number of projects on many of your reservations that are currently getting SDS funding through Indian Health Service and EPA, and those are completely separate of the compacts. So, and more than likely the lead service line inventory is such an immediate necessity with that October 2024 date. It's going to preclude, finalization of some of those compacts, and even ones that are under construction or under design will be kind of in their infancy.
Doesn't what I mean.
Did that help at all?
Thank you.
I just have, Mr. Chairman, I have one question. You talked about technical assistance available from our economic development, let's say Bear Paw Development Corporation. What does
Right.
that consist of, Susan? I know Fort Belknap, Little Shell, and Chippewa Cree are members of that development corporation.
Right, so I would suggest when you fill out, can you now see my the website, the comdev.mt.gov?
Yes.
Okay, yay. So on here, when you go to here, request help inventorying lead service lines. And you filled this out at the bottom here. So it'll ask if your water system has members primarily on Montana's tribal nations. You can select those. At the bottom, it asks if you're a member of a CRDC. So please just put that in there. And then we will reach out to that CRDC. We have one, Beartooth is procured, but they can also partner with and subcontract with some of these other entities. So then that could be a conversation we could facilitate between you and Bear Paw and, like the procured service provider, what components, how they could fit into that, program and work with you on that. As you probably know, I worked at Bear Paw previously, and that was one of the things that we really saw with ARPA that was such a benefit, is to be able to use these CRDCs and the relationships that they currently have, especially with our tribal partners. So yeah, please fill that in if you're active with them. And if you do not have a CRDC in your region, we'll probably look at, maybe some other ways we can partner, because I think that economic development piece is really an important component in this partnership, since there will be ongoing projects most likely for most entities as far as how they're going to do their replacement plans. Does that help?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So on this page, and I think at Marilyn, what time are we almost out of time?
It appears you're doing okay.
Okay. So on
You're
this,
doing fine.
okay, thank you. On this page, this is where you can go to see what these reporting templates look like. They're all in Excel. They need to be provided back to DEQ in that exact format, the same with EPA. I'm not going to open them because they're really large and they don't really fit to the screen. But feel free to go ahead and look at those. It really shows what needs to be collected for information. And then it also, as you go through and fill it out, if you say, this was lead line, but now has been removed, but it's connected to galvanized, like Greg was saying, then that galvanized is going to be considered lead, and it will automatically populate that way in your template. So it's a really nice little sheet for being able to be able to collect exactly the information you need. This here is our community education toolkit and digital assets. So one of the things we really want to do is not only so that we can have the most current information in your hands, but as quickly as possible, but also things you could use in your community. We're going to be building this list of assets. So for example, one of the things that we're looking at doing is like door hangers. So a lot of communities had started with sending a postcard. So we just sent a postcard in mid-July to all of the water systems that are on tribal land. And so we will follow that up with an email to all of them, reminding them. But then these are great ones that you can use for your public meetings and post on your own social media sites. We have let's see if it'll take me back. Come on, it's thinking about it. This is a document that you can use to help present to your community. So it's just like a template for your handouts to your communities. We also have, there's like a test kit pocket card, which shows you how do you determine if this is lead or not. We're going to be making copies of those for you as well. So if they look at it and it's shiny, gold, it's copper. If it's a gray color and it's soft, then it's lead. So it kind of just is a little easy reference cards. So if you have workers that do go door to door or volunteers, you can take some of those with them. And there's some other resources there. And we will continue to add to that. So if there's anything that you would like to see, like we could make postcards for you to mail to your communities that have your specific photography on it, that are, like we looked at the images earlier, but specific to your tribal nation, we can help provide those for you. Under here is the lead and copper rule revision guidance. If you want to read through that, this is the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and how it affected Montana is all under that tab. The lead service funding that is available, and we're going to be reworking and adding to some of these as well. This one's really important. It talks about the lead health risks in our community. A lot of people don't realize that this does bioaccumulate. So if a mother was exposed when she was young, that lead is usually in the bones, that calcium. And during that prenatal stage, then that calcium is released, and so is the lead. So that's how even babies before they're born, it can cause miscarriages. It can cause health delays. It can affect the central nervous system, learning disabilities, stature, hearing. All of these things have been found to be connected, and there is no level. A lot of people ask, well, what's a safe level? There is no safe level that has been determined for lead. So that's why this is really a momentous time in the history of the United States to put so much money towards removing these service lines throughout the country. So there's some good information if your community is asking you about health effects. This just goes down through a little bit more additional information about the program. And then down here, this is the DEQ survey. And Greg can talk to that a little bit more if he wants, where you can go in after you've finished your inventory and you have an idea of what your project's worth and you are going to cost and you want to apply for that. We'll also have a link for EPA contact on there soon. And then one other little place up here, trainings and recordings. So as we've done different trainings, we put them on there. So feel free to go back and watch those again. And then also we'll be putting together a lead service line, a news kit, and our media press kit. So that's a place that you can go to see where we've put out information. A lot has been picked up on different TV stations, some other papers, and then also a place where the media can go to get their most accurate information as we roll this out. So I just wanted to introduce you to that website. And then if you have any additional, like I said, assets that you would like to see produced for your communities, please let me know. And I would really love if you could, even if you handed a paper around maybe today or emailed me with your best contact in your tribe, that we want to make sure we're getting it to the right person. Because like I said, we sent it out, but most of those go to a lot of times the public worker system and not necessarily to the council. So if you have other people that you would like to be receiving this information, if you would like to set up a time for us to come and visit and maybe do some one-on-one with your community, we're happy to do that as well. So
Susan, this is Richard Sangre. Our environmental office at the Tribal Health Department contacted me last week and inquired whether I knew of any old water systems, and the only one I could think of was the BIA section of the agency area, because our water system really weren't funded till the 90s, late 90s.
right.
So,
And
that's
I
the
can
only
look-
situation. And his name is Bo Mitchell. He works
Yep.
at the
Yeah, I met with
Tribal
Bo.
Health Department, and he's probably been in contact with you.
Yes, correct. I met with Bo when we were working on the ARPA component, and then also I met with him at one of our water schools. And I can stay in touch with him or have him give me a call, and happy to come over there and since you're just
He'll be our
over the hill.
contact person.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I think we're good.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time and your patience today. I know that's a little bit of a lot of information, but hopefully that helps you as you need to answer questions in your communities and as we do outreach with them. So if you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to use our contact information that's on there, and would be happy to get right back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks
You
so
too.
much.
All right, so commissioners like to take a 10-minute break?
Check out.
Yeah, check out. Okay, 10 minutes. Well, let's move on and start. So up next, since we do have a quorum, we'll do election of officers. Take it away, Meryl.
So we need to do election of officers, and it's up to the commissioners to nominate who they feel should be chairman, and then we'll do vice chair. So I'll give it back to you guys to.
Yeah.
nominations.
Mr. Chairman, my term expired on the 30th of June. And I've asked the business committee to appoint another person to represent the tribe on the STED commission. I've been on the STED commission for 18 years. Outlasted 2 governors who appointed me. And getting up there where I feel it's time for some of the younger people to get their feet wet. Sure. And working with the state. I know I've gained a lot of experience working, being a member of the state commission. So for information purpose, I won't be able to run for vice.
Okay. No.
Been good serving this committee, and I wish you all the best. This is probably be my last meeting. Unless the council decides you will. So that's what they did to me. That's why I'm here. You will.
Chairman Gray, for informational purposes, I was gonna get to this in my report, but so Richard Sangray's term ended 6:30, but you can stay on until the governor appoints someone new. Jennifer Finley's ended 6:30, and then Melissa Fisher's also ended 6:30. So just for informational purposes.
Okay, so
So if nominations are open. Nominate Jennifer to be the vice chair, if she'd accept.
Yeah, I'd accept that.
I'm good with that. Motion from Richard to nominate Jennifer as vice chair instead. Second. Second. Second by Sean. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Cheryl,
Oh, aye.
congratulations.
Okay, well, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so Marilyn, with mine expiring at the end of the month, how does that work? What do I need to do next?
So for any of those interested, you can go to the boards.mt.gov site and apply through there, because the governor's office is the one who is in charge
So
of
I need to do that.
board appointments. That's-
Actually, once the business committee says it's okay with me, we'll put it in a new name.
Okay. New nomination.
Yeah, to the good. Process. And an alternate.
Yeah, because we do have alternates.
Yeah, 'cause I don't have.
I'm
an
not sure about that.
alternate.
I'm not sure about the alternates anymore.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
you know?
Yeah, not sure that that's the thing. I believe that's something from the governor's office.
He wiped it off the table?
I believe so.
Oh, get him on the phone. Okay, so, chair. Want to be chair?
Yeah, but you-
Make a nomination that for Gerald, great for chair.
Second that,
Discussion.
if he accepts.
We're all accepted. Then if no one else wants to do it. Okay, any other, no discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. That was easy. New motion. So do you want to go through some of this stuff at the bottom before lunch, or?
We sure can. We can go through our reports right now since we've got some extra time, Chairman Gray, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
So some of this stuff we've already covered, the people with the term ending. Wanted to let you know that we started the OIC newsletter that's sent out monthly, and Dina Dagnall, which is on our Zoom right now, she has done a really good job of putting it together and making it look really nice. And I don't know if you guys have seen that come out, the newsletter. We're sending it to.
What does it look like?
It's on the website.
Yeah.
Not sure if there's a link on the website. You know, there is no link on the website, is there?
No, it just comes through email. I have it right here, though. I can share my screen.
That would be great.
Maybe if you let me share my screen.
Will it let you know?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the newsletter?
This is the
Oh, wait,
newsletter, monthly
sorry,
newsletter.
wrong one.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Yeah. So Bina has done a really great job and I wanted to give her some props for that.
This is actually, I guess, the one, oh, it is the one this week or this month.
Bina, is it possible to go full screen on that?
What happened to
Um,
Jason?
Yeah, let me try it. real quick.
So Jason is no longer with the OIS program. We are hiring, we do have the position posted. We're doing some interviews this week. So,
Thank you. You know, as the commission, I'll no longer be on the commission. I think it would really be helpful if commissioners were aware of some of the changes that are made within Department of Commerce that instead maybe rely on for questions. And, you know, we gotta be in the loop, let's just say.
Chairman Gray, Vice Chair Sangre, that's a really good point. We probably should have sent something out saying, not probably, we should have sent something out saying, Jason is no longer with the department. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would have been that would have been good.
And what if, you know, personally, I like to be kept in the loop.
Sure.
What's going on within, sure, the state commission. Who we work with. It sure helps.
Sure.
Yeah, I think a quick email would have been good, you know.
Absolutely. Yes, well, hopefully hang on to that, but not hopefully hang on to that in the future, but hopefully not have that happen in the future and in terms of people leaving. And if it does, we'll let you know. That's a good point. And I really apologize if that didn't happen. That communication should have.
Thank you.
Couple just quick things before I talk about some other things. Don't forget, we have that Robert's Rules of Training that you can go to, and it's recommended for all commissioners. You all will have a login to get there, and that's also at that boards.mt.gov site. Next board meeting, we're going to be talking about determining where and when our next year's meeting will be. So please come prepared, thinking of maybe somebody who's interested in hosting. And then we need your input, leadership, and knowledge to determine how we can meet the goals of this commission. So I know, like talking with Jennifer, we've got a couple things set up for the November meeting, talking with an entrepreneur, things like that, where we get to know more economic development stuff. So what would you guys like to do? Like round robin, like we did this morning, talk about what's going on in each tribe, things like that, ideas. I'm just looking for ideas of what we can do to meet our goals and of having people here.
Yeah, I think I like that. I think it's a really good idea to go around it. If, you know, they don't have to do it, but if there's something that we want to share. But I also think a good idea would have maybe an Indian equity recipient business come in at whatever location we're at and maybe talk about their success and how they're doing. Because I think it's important that we support those, you know, that have put in it. Luke will know best about who they are and stuff, right? Where to make that connection for us to have them come in and present. We did it one time before and it really neat to hear. Well, we did it for a little show.
We did it at the Center Scoopy, the meeting they had up there also.
And then Rockville did Rebecca Jarvie, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. One thing I thought about inviting someone from one of our tribal enterprises, and I thought specifically about our SNK Technologies, which is our umbrella corporation. And I think, you know, and the reason I thought of them is because I thought their model might be useful to other tribes in their own economic development, because they started really small, like really, really small. Like I can't remember, like maybe $60,000 or something like that. And now they're a multi-million, maybe billion-dollar company. I don't have the numbers. I'm not a numbers person. I don't remember numbers well, but I thought if people are interested, I can invite them and they can share.
Are they a LLC or are they chapter 17?
So they would have to explain all that to you, but I know that they're an umbrella corporation, and under them, there's several LLCs.
Okay.
And
I'd like
they,
to.
and how they do that. And we have satellite, and we do business all over the world, or they do business all over the world. We're the shareholders, but how they started so small and just grew and grew and grew. I just thought that might be interesting for other tribes. And maybe they don't do that exact same thing, but how you could start something really small and slowly build an umbrella corporation.
All this stuff, it's a payday. Yeah.
Chairman Gray, Leanne had her hand up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is kind of old news, but I was just going to let everyone, did everyone know what Jason Small had gone on to do? I thought that might be helpful too, for them to be able to reach out to him in his new position. So he's now the executive director for the AFL-CIO for the state. Just kind of back to that, but
Okay. Pour salt to wounds. Thanks, Leanne.
So,
Go ahead.
that's great. What am I trying to say? Would you want a survey to go out, like things you'd like to do and kind of get a survey back of that? Or are you feeling like this discussion we had that we could go off of Indian Equity Fund, talking to entrepreneurs, things like
Tribal-owned business.
tribal-owned businesses?
And one thing I thought about, I was telling Marilyn before the meeting started, is asking someone from SKC, Salish Kootenai College's internship program, because they really focus on internships at SKC. And I know that as a tribe, we're really trying to develop more internships, not just at Salish Kootenai College, but in our organization, mentoring people to do whatever, and we just, looking at more opportunities for mentorship. And I don't know if other tribes are interested in that too, but their model is SKC has a pretty successful internship model. Most of their students do internships.
Where's our next meeting?
Our next meeting, we're gonna have it at the college. We're gonna stay at Polson at the Patuxent,
Oh, true.
and then we're gonna meet at the college.
Okay.
So that's.
So I think we have enough ideas here, especially with what you're proposing to implement that at the next ongoing meeting. Good with that?
Oh, yeah, I'm good with what you guys are doing.
Yes, sir.
Sean Backbone, Pro Tribe, on your, Jennifer, on your place over there, it'd be nice if we could, see your butcher plant.
That's not up yet.
Oh, really?
The
I mean,
meat packing.
yeah, because it's,
Oh, do you want to hear about the meat packing?
yeah,
'Cause I
because
can-
it's the,
Okay, so.
we're
our-
butchers by trade.
Yes.
Where all of us are butchers by trade, and
Even
it seems
me.
like that part of us, someone else is making money on it again. So
Okay.
it'd be nice to kind of see that entrepreneurship from that. 'Cause I could skin a buffalo in an hour. Quarter it.
So someone to talk about our meat packing plant.
Yeah,
how we plan on doing
because I
that.
think that's the kind of like the going trend right now to the tribe is try to get something with that.
So if that's something you're interested in, I can invite people from the people in our tribe who are working on our meatpacking plant to come in and do a presentation about that.
That'd be cool.
That'd be great. So if you can work with
Marilyn
Marilyn
and-
setting up the, yeah. well,
Chairman, great.
Yep.
This is Delina Cutzrow. I just had a comment about, remember we had the Federal Reserve Bank come in and talk about financial analysis of each tribal organization from each tribe. You know, they came to Fort Belknap, Heather and, Casey.
Yep.
And I took them around and I had them tour a couple tribally owned businesses and then a couple, individual businesses. And that was really nice to have them there. But we've been working on our survey information because as a tribe, we've decided that irregardless of whether we publicize, like everything, or whether we don't, the main thing is to show some good validated data to the state legislature to show economic development, benefits, and it all kind of trickles down from everything that we ever receive or the initiatives such as the STED Commission and things like that. So I was just curious, hopefully other tribes are, participating. It's not easy stuff. I mean, you kind of like it's almost like a lot of financial stuff. So I got my CFO and my Secretary Treasurer helping me work on that. But the other thing too is the SEDS document. It's a living document that every tribe usually participates in. And I know the state has an initiative to where they wanted to kind of work with tribes, remember? But the SEDS has a lot of good deliverables and outcome measurements. It'd be kind of nice to be able to also, perhaps Casey and Heather could, maybe kind of just come up with just a table or a nice one-page graph or something to show those deliverables, because that's all about economic development. It's how many jobs you create for projects and goals that are related to your council's strategic plan, right? So just a short couple fact sheets, because senators, they don't like to, and representatives, they don't like to read like tons of stuff. They have to, but
Yeah.
they're so bombarded with all these bills that they read and whatnot, right? But like just like a 2-pager like this or something that says this is tribal SEDS goals and objectives, and this is how tribes are meeting them, and this is the contribution to the state of Montana, but also to our own economy, because we've got issues as just like Sean was saying, we've done a leakage study, and all our dollars pretty much go off the reservation. But I look to my enterprises like Island Mountain Development Group, the casino, on our housing department, things like that, to try to make sure that, we're looking at basic businesses, trying to get those entrepreneurs on board to spend that money locally. It's a constant challenge because we have capital issues. Bankers, in our area don't like to lend to Indian businesses because they get freaked out about trust land and whether or not they can collect debt, things like that. So that all goes back to, our UCC codes and things like that, which all of us already have, but it just doesn't seem to have made much of an impact. So also initiatives or someone to maybe technical assist and talk to tribes about how we can better leverage capital investments for businesses, because it's a reality. They look at, you walk into even our local bank in Harlem, they're just not going to loan you. They're just not going to give you the same package as someone else. It's still there, but just to try to keep on working on those challenges and, talk about those kind of strategies, I think is really important. I think that's at the meat of, basic services and money spent in our communities. That's just my comment. So something on SEDS and something on financial, something on the financial side to kind of further strengthen the recognition by the state to shows that, tribes do make jobs. We have sustainable jobs, and we are making use of grant funding. Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't, but that's just like everyone else in the nation.
Right.
Sometimes you get 3-year grants and you try like hell to try to get a sustainable pickup on those. Like domestic violence is a problem for us, like with continuations. We lack a lot of times the pickup, so we might not get all 3 of those advocates funded, but we might carry 1, so we're not, cutting the mustard like we'd like to, but it's just the way it is, so sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. And so you constantly need those grant funds, but you're still effectuating change. You're still, making, still putting the jobs out there and stuff. You just can't really sustain fully everything that you fund. I mean, that's just the reality of it, but we'd like to, and we continue to try to do so. So
Was it Heather and Casey, weren't they coming out with paper or something like this too, on their study?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gonna be really helpful. 'Cause
Oh, huge.
that means a lot, because just like anything, like even within our own communities, you could be doing all kinds of great stuff, but if you don't put something together eventually at different points,
Yeah.
even your leadership, doesn't believe that things are getting done, or the community or whatever. So we really need to have those reports and, like just different kinds of good information to strengthen and recognize the work that reservations are doing. That's just what I'd like to see.
Yeah, oh, yeah, definitely.
Chairman
Yeah.
Leanne made a comment in the chats that there are several internship programs going on right now, Montana Chamber of Securities and Insurance Commission, and several private entities. We could get a panel together for the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great to learn about those for sure. Yeah. Leanne could do that. That would be super. Thanks, Leanne. So I think we're set for the next meeting at CSKT.
Yes.
A lot of stuff.
Just remember, we're staying at the Quatecnock and having it at the college. So don't show up at a meeting room at the Quatecnock.
I'll take a Lakeview room, please.
I'll work on that. I'll put in a good word for you.
Okay.
Okay. That's it for me.
Yeah. Could get clarification on your appointment and whether the alternate has been discarded?
Yeah, can you clarify that?
Sure, and maybe Leanne has a little more information than I do. Clarification on alternates, and what was your other question?
Well, the nomination, the appointee and I guess the alternate, if Gerald can attend, who's going to be there for a little while?
So, I mean, the way that the governor's office does it is that they would like applicants from the tribes that have terms that are, or from, yeah. So, and I know that there was maybe a hiccup about a year and a half ago where the governor's office did go through their normal process for basically new board or commission members. And then the tribal council had wanted somebody else. So I would say that for whichever, and I can't remember which three are up, but if you want input from tribal leadership on who should submit an application, maybe do that before any applications are submitted. And then you basically would just go to boards.mt.gov, submit the application for who should be the next commission member for the respective tribe. And then the governor's office would go through, it's basically lieutenant governor and then Hannah are in charge of boards. Then they would go through that process for the new appointments. As far as alternates, I'd have to get you some more information on that. We're not really focused on that right now. There's not a lot of other commissions or board that have alternates. And so then we end up where alternates come, and really don't have a lot of input. I think that they're just kind of trying to change that process. I think the preferred method would be that whoever, is a commission member, just try to come as many as possible, because then we have to get proxies and things like that. So does that answer your question, Commissioner Sangre?
I think it confused me a little more.
Oh, okay.
As far as, who's going to represent the tribal government? tribal government wants to be the one that they want that individual to represent the tribe. But if you're gonna accept applications from all over, as long as they're a tribal member, the tribal business committee or the may not agree with that appointment. So what happens there if they appoint somebody that is not in good graces with the tribal government?
Well, and that's why I guess my suggestion would be, excuse me, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sangre, would be that whoever isn't, I think it varies from tribe to tribe is what I guess I'm saying. So that we don't have a applicant, put in for a vacant position, and then that tribal government comes in and wants to appoint somebody else that maybe, whether it's the business community or tribal leadership, I would think that maybe current commission members could recruit members. I think there's no one size fits all. All I can tell you is that just a tribal member, for the vacant positions, need to make application on the board.mt.gov site. And then, I can recommend that if there's an applicant that the governor's office reach out to either tribal leadership or the tribal business community. I'm not sure which would be recommended in which case.
I know in the past, it's always been they notified the tribal government to nominate an individual.
Yeah, and I'm
Just
not. Yep.
Perhaps tribal government feedback. I mean, councils like consultation. I mean, could someone send out just a questionnaire to the tribal chairmen and ask them if they think that it's, a change to allow just, any tribal member to apply independently without their recognition is okay, or could it be linked to the tribal chairmen to be able to view, who is applying, and then will they be on the selection committee, something like that? I don't know. I know my president would like to have input and, before something happens rather than after the fact. That's kind of one thing that tribal chairmen disagree with.
Yeah, I agree
greatly.
with you. I mean, you're just opening a can of worms if you let anyone apply without the tribe's input, council input. So for us, I know that'd be a real big issue.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. For us, it would be too, for exactly the reasons that Richard said, because an outside entity might not know the inner workings of our community and who's not in good graces for various reasons. The tribal council usually has the say of those kinds of things, who they want representing them.
Could I recommend also considering that applicants have a letter of support from the tribe, from their tribe, so that the individual is vetted by the tribe before getting into the position to be in that role, and that a letter of support from the tribe would go in addition to the application.
Chairman Gray, I believe that that's the way the system is currently set up.
Yeah.
So no commissioner from a tribe can actually come and be nominated. It's an official nomination made by the council, usually from each tribe already. So that wouldn't be anything new. But that would be, perhaps, to me, I mean, that's just kind of how it's being done now.
Yeah.
The problem, I think, lies in, say perhaps you have, a tribal member that has, I don't know, maybe some issues back home. They're very vocal about certain issues, and they don't typically consent, with what the tribal council is doing, but not every constituent has to agree with the tribal council, but they could technically apply and essentially wreak havoc by not speaking for the tribal council or, for the tribal government. And they could be having maybe their own agenda. I think that's what tribal councils want to prevent, is that everyone has a right to a voice. But I think that since the commission was set up to involve tribes, you really need to look to the tribal councils to still initiate their nominations, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
And that happens by an actual letter that's signed by your president. It doesn't just happen by me submitting a letter for myself. It happens by my council signing an actual nomination to the governor. Yes.
So Leanne, when did this change on the state level?
Mr. Chair, I am not aware that there was a change. Again, there's just an application that's filled out online, and I believe that there are letters of recommendation. They are vetted. I just believe that there was one instance recently where a tribal member was put on the commission and for, just one tribe, and then later, or maybe the tribal council changed. So that's what we just don't want to have that happen. So there is, there is that process. They are vetted, et cetera. I do not know the details, but there's nothing that has changed from the state.
That was a tribal council change.
Okay.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, that happens.
So, yeah, I do not think that there's anything that's changed, but we can certainly send out a letter to those commission members' terms that are expiring and ask for nominations from the tribal council.
Okay.
If that's what you would like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, Leanna, actually, our business committee has a meeting on Wednesday. And I had informed them that I was not gonna apply for this position, and requested that they make a nomination to the governor for appointment of a new member to the STED Commission. Now, if it's changed, they could still make that nomination, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the governor has to abide by their nomination. Am I correct?
No, and so I must have misspoke. Maybe I just couldn't quite hear you. So nothing has changed. It was just me not understanding what had happened previously. So the application can be sent, but yeah, we need the application to come from somebody. Hopefully that person is thoroughly vetted and approved by either the tribal council or the tribal business committee, whichever way each tribe prefers to send in the nominations.
Okay, I think you kind of clarified that.
Okay.
The tribe will make the nomination. If I'm correct?
Yes, if that's, yes. I mean, this is the only commission that does it that way. And there is just in the past, they do come through the portal for the boards. So whether that's somebody from the council or the individual after they've been approved goes through. I think it's just the minutia, but generally speaking, yes, I would imagine that it is approved by the tribal council or business community. So there is no change. We would welcome anybody for your position, and we'll look forward to it.
Just the alternate portions, that has changed.
I will get something and send that out to everyone in writing. All I know is that when I was checking with the board's office, they had just wanted us to focus on the upcoming terms that were ending, not the alternates. So I can clarify that for you, and we'll get a letter sent out to everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. All right,
Last thing, don't forget to give me travel expense worksheet reimbursement, so you get reimbursed. And that's all for me.
so then,
Try it again.
so I think we'll go ahead and, looks like lunch is here. We'll go ahead and have lunch. Jennifer already blessed the food. Thank you very much. We'll continue on.
Recording.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with Accelerate Montana, ladies. Floor is yours.
Accelerate.
Hello,
Accelerate.
everybody.
Accelerate it.
Is this loud enough, do you think? All right, I'm Linwood Fields with Accelerate Montana, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Amber Lamb. I am with Montana Department of Labor and Industries Registered Apprenticeship Program.
And I do have to point out Gerlinda's here, and she is part of Accelerate Montana's team as well, so I'm grateful she came. I just wanted to start off by saying that we came in person because we're incredibly grateful to you all for the support and for the vision around this. It was important for us to come in person to say that, and to also tell you all how serious we are about this, about making this happen and doing this in a way that feels important to each community. So with that, we already have incredibly amazing updates to give you that I think we were excited to talk to you about. And then we also have some questions that we wanted feedback on. With that being stated, we are going to launch this program a little sooner than we expected. And the reason is that Impulsion, a production company, reached out to us, and they are filming a television series and they would like to hire some of our graduates. So we were going to wait and kind of start in the fall, but we have our very first class that we're going to be teaching August 26th and 27th in Polson, because they have committed to hiring at least one of our graduates, if not up to 6. And I think that's a really great opportunity to not just do training, but immediately put people into the workforce. So I wanted to tell you that exciting update. That happened, and then the next day after that, I'm going to introduce Ivan McDonald and Liz Unger, and they are not just friends, but incredible filmmakers in the state of Montana. And I think when we first came and met with all of you, we showed you Snequista-Measton, and that was a film that all of us made together. And that was one of our first production assistant pilot courses. From that course, we got Humanities Montana money to see if we could pitch this to make it into a feature. And we have incredible news that these guys got a grant. And I can only say from a major network, I can't give it all away yet, to maybe look at making this into a feature doc. So this is exciting because we're just showing that this is working and that it's leading to next things. But the thing that I quickly wanted to turn it over to them is they have also agreed to do something in Browning and have students shadow their work. So do you mind just saying a few things about?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Ivan McDonald. I'm a world member of the Blackfeet Tribe, Emmy-winning filmmaker. I reside here in Billings. I've worked on a few projects. One most recently, Murder in Bighorn, which just premiered at Sundance, is on Showtime now. And really excited to partner with Linwood and kind of bring forward fruition the project Liz and I are working on, which is Linwood had mentioned is currently in development with a major streamer.
So thank you for coming, because what we want to show is that not only are we going to be teaching this, but we're going to be doing shadowing with people in Montana, specifically Indigenous filmmakers who are making a living out of this, to show that this is happening. So thanks for coming in, all you guys. And then the other big updates that we wanted to give is we just got off a call an hour before this with MAPS, and that is Media Institute out of Corvallis. If you haven't heard about them, they are 18 years they've been doing film in the state. They just won an Emmy for their work, and they would like to partner with us. They have very good relationships in Fort Peck and Fort Belknap. And they are looking at using that as curriculum potentially with their high school students, as well as letting our students shadow those projects too. So We have barely started this, and I think the momentum is there because this feels like the right thing to be doing, the right energies behind it. So we're beyond grateful. We have more things we could share, but I also want to open to questions. We already have one student enrolled, and I just wanted to say it's from the Little Shell Tribe. And she is a young woman who's very excited about film. So we have one student without doing any promotion yet. And again, the way we're going to launch this is it's going to be 2-day intensives in person, or people can do it online if they're kind of motivated that way. So you don't have to do it in person. Those in-persons we're trying to pair with shadowing programs so that they can immediately start feeling like what it's like to be on set. And some of these we'd like to turn into curriculum like we did with Snickweast Mason. So do you mind if we just do quickly the pitch? Just we're putting together how our outreach team is going to reach out to people. We are very open to feedback and know that we have not shared this with anybody. We're showing it to you all so you get a sense of how we're going to be reaching out to high schools, colleges, community members. We have gone to the tribal council and the Flathead Reservation just to let them know that we're coming and to make sure they're a part of that communication. We do plan to go to every tribal council that would welcome us. Do you mind doing the next slide? This is kind of
Gotta do it this way.
yeah, we are putting together like our welcomes, and if you see one that's missing, please let us know because we want to make sure that's correct. But this just gives people the idea that we have 80 students in Montana, 10 participants per tribal community. Here's the staff that's at Accelerate. Again, Accelerate got a grant from the governor's office to do rapid training. And now we have one from the Department of Commerce that does film and media. So it's already been very exciting for people to know this is fully funded if you qualify. One thing we are going to talk about is that scholarship and what that language should look like. Just want to make sure we're getting that correct. And Gerlinda's in the room, but Tisha Cliff and Crystal Little Owl are also on our team doing outreach. And Tisha Cliff does, she works with graduates all the way through until they're done and trying to get them on sets afterwards.
Next slide.
Yeah, sorry for that next slide. We've gone through this, but this is the economics. And one thing that I am going to pass around today, something we didn't see that's coming out of this is live music events are also hiring all our graduates. So now they have 2 opportunities, film and music. I also want to plant the seed that live music is very interested with partnering with reservations to potentially bring some music if that's of interest. Gerlinda and I are going to talk about that, but this is an opportunity for youth and anybody. I have had 80-year-olds graduate, by the way, from our program to get into the industry in multiple ways. And as we know, live music is pretty big in Montana too. So I'm going to pass this around. Show Imaging is a giant company that is doing film in the state. I mean, music. Right. Next slide. Sure. We've talked about jobs, but again, this is from 2020 to 2022. I think the main takeaway is that there are jobs paying $50K or more for this kind of work. Next slide. And these are, as we've talked about, the reason we do production assistant is it's entry level and it gets them in to start to see. Ivy's going to hate that I point her out, but here's Ivy McDonald as well. She works with Ivan and they're also siblings. But Ivy was saying when she has people on her set mentoring, she does camera. And if they're interested in camera, she said, stand next to me. And that's what we're trying to get people to do. What are you interested in film and how can you move up? And the way you do that is production assistant. Next slide. And I just want to tell you some of the, do the next slide, the shadowing productions that we're in talks with. Oh, this is when we reach out to them, what we're doing.
Next slide.
Yeah. You can know one more. Amanda Bear Medicine is one of our instructors. She's from the Blackfeet tribe, and she is also one of our graduates who's done incredible work since she graduated in the last 2 years. She'll be teaching in Polson with me on August 26th and 27th. And then the next one. This is Joseph Grady. He's our other instructor. He will also be teaching in Polson with me. And then after that, they can go to any community and teach either together or individually. We will have multiple instructors so we can really make sure this is successful. And this is just an example. Everything we do is very hands-on, but just even knowing what is on a walkie-talkie will separate you in the film industry. How do you tell somebody my surveillance isn't working? What is a surveillance? Those things make a difference when you're on set and make you move up really quickly. again, this was the short film we made. It got turned into curriculum with OPI. I'd like to replicate that with everybody again and again. So the short films that they're shadowing on could also be turned into films that go to Pearside Doc that also get turned into curriculum. And you can do those like that. And then here are some of the ways in which students will have an opportunity to shadow. So again, breaking the silence. Thank you. And we're working on the dates for that. We're looking at maybe September in Browning that we would do that. The TV show in Polson, that is 100% happening. That is in September, and we are doing the class in August. And then we are in talks with all the rest of these organizations to do more shadowing. And of course, we'll present this as it comes up. And at the end, they get this badge and they go into a database, and then we let filmmakers, producers, and film festivals know that they're interested in working. And that's the presentation. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for having us again and listening to us. We know that some of this stuff is repetitive, but it's also part of what we want to do in good faith practices and engaging with tribes to make sure that when we're going to do work in your communities, you're aware of what our objectives are and that you know what we are wanting to do with your communities and within your communities. So once again, thank you for listening to us. I want to say that this overall for registered apprenticeship and workforce development is a priority for DLI and my team. We are looking at a way to increase access to this industry throughout Montana. And so this project is really encouraging to us because we are going to be able to get some feedback and engagement from the communities that we engage with to find out which communities are interested, might have the equipment, which school districts may have teachers that are on board and want to spread this. And I have big dreams of spreading this into the fashion industry, magazines. I think that there's really a lot of opportunity to increase our economy, our tribal economies, utilizing our own stories and utilizing our own people to tell those stories. So I'm super excited about this, and I really am just can't wait to see how many participants we get in this program. So as you move through your communities, if you hear of people who are interested in it or have ideas about stories or things that are going on that you feel like the outer world should know, I would love for you to let me know so we can kind of take a peek at what's going on there. Most of the reservations do have native production, people who produce media or film or music. And so my objective is kind of long-term. I'm really hoping to see something come out of this to where we can make an apprenticeship program that would be at least a year long and connect that with employers in tribal communities. So that's our objective, and we've been successful in getting DLI on board with it. And it's kind of been an uphill battle in that, trying to convince people that this is a viable industry and occupations that we can actually benefit for engaging in. So, thanks again.
Any questions? Anyone online?
There's no questions regarding this.
Okay. Oh, we appreciate, oh, go ahead.
Do you mind if I
Yeah,
contribute,
no, please
Chair?
do.
I just want to again thank you guys for coming and all the work that we've been trying to do the last 9 months to ensure that this can happen. So one thing that we're looking for some feedback from the STEM commissioners on is just about some of our application criteria. There's 80 scholarships. We've got 18 months to ensure that they all get utilized, 10 per tribal nation. We're going to start with the first half of those, 45 per nation, and start out with those first and see how we do in terms of the criteria. Right now, it's contracted that the applicant needs to be an enrolled tribal member of working age with a tribal ID. But we have not put any additional guardrails around the criteria for scoring their application in terms of where they live. Do these need to all be in tribal land within a certain proximity of a reservation? Do we open it to any and all as long as they have the tribal ID? Do we expand eligibility to include descendancy with descendancy paperwork? So what we're really looking at here is how do we ensure that we're targeting and providing these opportunities to those in the community that really need an opportunity to get into another career path. And then the last thing is, if we had in that first round, let's say that we end up getting 5 applicants or 4 applicants that are Little Shell Gold. We don't need to do a random selection for those. If they all qualify and they show an interest, then we can just go ahead and enroll them, which would then leave us with 6 left for the next batch. If that second batch, we get 20 applicants, then we would have to do a random selection of those 20 to choose the 6. So what we're hoping is that we're going to get some feedback from you about what you think should be the target of how we deploy these scholarships.
Well, I think it's gonna be dependent on each tribe. I mean, for definitely for Little Shell, I mean, we're open to just an ID card and maybe even the descendancy thing would be fine. I'd like to see how many apply first, you know, that are enrolled, and then go from there.
Okay.
But I can't speak for, or for
And you
CSKT.
speaking for Little Shell is wonderful. I
Yeah.
appreciate that feedback. Any thoughts from Sean or Jennifer?
No, I think that criteria sounds good, you know, tribal ID, and I think there would probably be enough on our reservation, enough people who would be interested. That I think those 10 spots would fill up.
When we came to tribal council, was it a week ago?
Yeah, I had to leave early that day. As you guys were coming in, I was just leaving.
Yeah, but one of the things that was helpful to us was we got a reference to go straight upstairs and talk to the people who are working with scholarships at school, at the college. So then that kind of gives us a little bit of an avenue as far as where we're going to find a pool for applicants. So that might be another ask from each of you.
You know, recognizing the uniqueness of each tribal nation, it may be to our benefit, at least for this program, but we can see how it might apply to other state programs and fund cycles like Indian Equity Fund or others. Perhaps for Little Shell, they say we would like descendancy documentation to be included as eligibility for grant funding as well as a tribally enrolled member. But perhaps Blackfeet don't agree with that. And so they would say, we would like to keep the eligibility like this. That's fine. That's great. We can try to have our programs be, you know, flexible to incorporate those differences. Sean, did you have some feedback for us?
Yeah, it'll be, all the criteria is pretty good, but you know what, in our, I guess in our tribal is, we would, a priority I would think would be a fluent speaker. Because
Okay.
we're losing our language.
Okay.
So if that's kind of like so give that opportunity to kind of throw that in there, I think that would be kind of, you know, more kosher for us, but, you know, it's just a thought. Yep.
Fantastic feedback. Thank you. Richard and Delina, we're discussing the production assistant scholarship program that is launching. And we are wanting to get some of your feedback about how we best target the scholarships that are reserved and set aside for each of the tribal nations. And some of the questions that we're posing for any feedback you may have for us. Do you think it's preferred for your tribal nation for the applicant to be tribally enrolled with an ID? Should it be expanded to include descendancy with documentation of descendancy from the tribe? Does it matter if they live within 30 miles of the reservation land? Or is it more open? Would you want to have maybe half of them go to those that are reservation based and the other half go to those that live anywhere in the state? These are just some of the ways that we want to pose this to you. And you don't have to make any final decisions or anything right now. We're going to launch the first half of these and hold the other half back so that if we need to make any amendments to our contract to account for these other ideas and other ways to deploy it, even if it's personalized that's fine. That's what we're going to do. So we want to make sure that we're maximizing these opportunities for the best benefit.
Got just one question. Is this program available outside the reservations?
I think that's what we want to know from all of you.
Is it-
We can do whatever works because we have online, we can also travel, so absolutely. But we also wanted to get feedback about how you want us to do that.
So it is open to the public. The production assistant course itself is open to the general public. This particular project is specific to tribal nations.
So yeah, just to clarify, the
Yeah.
scholarships,
Kind of
they're $500.
clarify the scholarship first to where.
Yeah.
what to do. I would just have one suggestion. It'd be open to tribal members who live on the reservation. That would be kind of like our other programs.
Thank you for that feedback. And again, it could be
then-
personalized.
You know, if you don't have the applicants, then go outside the reservation.
Right.
I would strongly suggest use the reservations first. Anything left over?
Yeah, I think with ours, I would think it would probably be okay to have people off the reservation because Missoula is so close to the reservation line, and a lot of our tribal members do live in Missoula, drive in for work and things like that. So there might be people who live in Missoula or Kalispell, really close but just off, and in a city.
Sure.
So
And this is what's great, Richard, is that if it works best for Chippewa Cree, that they be reservation based or maybe within 20 or 30 miles, because you may have some tribal members that are just on the outskirts of the tribal land if they've got ranches or whatnot. So it might be where you, again, they can be personalized based on each nation and the uniqueness of the population.
Thank you, Chairman Gray. This is Delina Custer of Fort Belknap. I guess, we usually, this is good to be able to get feedback for something that doesn't already have a surface area restriction, because some funds that we have, like higher ed scholarships, because they start out of high school, usually applying for higher ed scholarships, we can serve any tribal member, in the nation, because they're going to outside schools, typically, or whatever. But a lot of our services are confined just to the reservation, but because we have tribal members everywhere, I would almost have to agree with Richard from Fort Belknap's perspective, make on reservation a priority, simply because of the economic disparity for the reservation and access to opportunities to be able to enter into, a professional field, and then, perhaps still offer off reservation, after that priority is expired or has been spent or cannot be achieved, then let's go ahead and go off reservation. That's just speaking for what I think the council would want.
Nice. I would also say we are happy to come back and report what happens. We can make a priority for the reservation first, and then when we have our next meeting, let you know who's applying and how that's going. Because again, we can have this conversation and shift it as we discover what's happening. We may have no problem with enrollment. We haven't done a lot of outreach yet, so we'll be able to come back and tell you once we have dates and all that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
Yeah, your feedback's being incorporated into the application's not even live yet, because we wanted to have this follow up with you, let you know that we've got it contracted, get your feedback on how we should be evaluating applicants and what other criteria we need to embed into the application. We're going to launch the first half. We've got 18 months to get these all utilized. Penetrating the market, the labor market, with 80 tribal members that take advantage of this is pretty remarkable. It's not just film, right? It's commercial. It's like looking at theater productions, concerts. There's a lot of different applications for it. And so we're really excited, and I really appreciate all of you shaping this, because without your support early on, almost a year ago, when Amber came to me and introduced me to Linwood and they're able to get you on the STED commission, you basically, this is what I think is an example of meaningful consultation. And then we're excited to get the results from that too.
Yeah, it's the likelihood of success without your input. Each one of you come from different communities, you represent different people, different tribal nations. We all care about this being a successful program. There's already been a lot of work put towards it. We believe in it. And so if we're not getting feedback from you, we're not taking the opportunity that's before us to get an idea of what will be the most successful for your people in your communities. So that's, and long term, like I said, I have big plans with expansion into other types of occupations in this industry. And I'm looking at fashion design, magazines, all kinds of stuff that is already out there, but not being currently produced by Native people. So, or not enough, in my opinion. So that's really what we're looking for, is continual collaboration on how we can be successful with this project.
Hi, this is Cheryl. Mr. Chairman, this is Cheryl. If I could just give you my input. I too agree with Richard as far as, you know, the priority should be on reservation. But at the same time, I see the need to probably include college students that are temporarily off the reservation, going to college, say at University of Montana or MSU or, you know, wherever they are, to be included in that group, you know, as an exception, because they are enrolled members and they're just going to school, you know, relocating temporarily to get their advanced degrees, and should be probably included as well. That's my input. Thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So let's say when you start your outreach, let us know. I mean, we can help, you know, disseminate whatever you're doing to get the word out.
I'm also going to leave my card, because if any of you know people who may be a good fit for this, we really appreciate you spreading the word. And then we will follow up when we have dates, so that, I mean, we definitely have Polson, just to say that, but we are actively working on each community, coming up with dates that we can share with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Appreciate that.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yep.
Travel safely on your way back.
You also.
Thank you.
That's why I feel.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right now. Yeah, good. Sarah?
All right, let's go. All right, thanks, Alicia. So I'm gonna let Alicia and Danny kind of start this conversation first from the TAC and what they do, and then we'll roll into MOU discussion.
Good, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. My name is Alicia Harvey.
Got a new vice chair.
Yeah, and then Madam Vice Chair. It is a pleasure. It's an honor to be here today. My name is Alicia Harvey, and I am Chair of the state's Tourism Advisory Council. I've been on the council 4 years. I was appointed under Governor Bullock and reappointed under Governor Gianforte. And it's an honor to have been elected by my peers to serve as chair. And I would like to, earlier this morning, fellow TAC chair, council member Haley Shipp, who represents Missouri River Country in Northeast Montana, is on our tribal tourism subcommittee. So Haley was listening into this meeting, and you will most likely see her at future meetings coming up. To my right is my new colleague, Danny Morrison. My day job is Director of Marketing at Museum of the Rockies. And Museum of the Rockies recently hired Danny to be our American Indian Curatorial and Program Assistant. So it is a pleasure to introduce Danny to you all. And I asked her to be my guest here, just to listen and to learn, as my participation here is today as well. And as the museum embarks on a new American Indian exhibition, Danny is mentoring all of us at the museum and leading that charge. So it's a pleasure to introduce you. Yes, very good. And I asked her here also to make sure if I said anything incorrectly that she could school me and make sure I pronounce everything correctly. So with the Tourism Advisory Council, one of our statutory obligations is to make sure that the 6 tourism regions and 17 convention and visitor bureaus promote tribal tourism in the area that they are represented. And we also, years ago, created a memorandum of understanding between the Tourism Advisory Council and your commission. And so I'm here today to chat about that, because when it expired last year, I had been appointed by Director Osterman, thank you, Scott, to be interim chair. I was vice chair. And so thank you for letting us go 1 year while I was drinking out of a fire hose, and we could work on the MOU today. So I'm here in person to chat about that with you.
Yeah, I would also just ask Alicia if she would tell us a little bit about the current status of the TAC, how it changed as a result of the legislative session, and any open positions.
Great, thank you, happy to. When I came on the council 4 years ago, there was 19 of us. So that was a very large council. And then over the next couple of years, we went down to 12. And now in this latest legislative session, they took the Tourism Advisory Council down to no more than 9 members. So that's really nice. It's nice and small, but it also requires very active participation from every appointee. So with that, the tourism, the statute says that we will have 1 representative from the 6 tourism regions, 1 a tribal member, and then a tribal government member, and then it can be left up to an at-large. There could possibly be another representative from another region, but no more than 9. So that comes to 22% of the council now is made up of tribal representation, which I think is fantastic. And so with that, we currently have Nathan Sangadard from St. Godard, yeah, thank you again. Yep.
Or Sangador.
Sangador, yes, from St. Mary on the council, and Nathan's doing a great job. We have had a vacant tribal government representation for 4 years. So it would be lovely if I implore you to help us find candidates who would be willing to submit their application to represent tribal government on the council. We are missing a very important voice, and we would like to have that representation. And really, why? What's the importance of that? Is this representative, we have a litany of statutory obligations, as your commission does, but the most important role that we have is overseeing the marketing plans for the 6 regions and 17 CBDs, their marketing plan budgets, and overseeing how they spend that money, because we review their marketing plans, ask them to edit it, change it, do whatever, and then they get to go and spend their money. We also advise Brand MT, used to be Travel Montana, and advise them on, it's kind of a loose statute, it just says advise the tourism department within the Department of Commerce. And so we've asked them to see if we could work together to see in the future marketing plans, we get their research. But in essence, this representative has the opportunity to speak to how roughly $50 million of tourism marketing funds get spent every year. So that's a great position to be in, to be able to review those marketing plans, ask what these regions and CBs are doing to promote tribal tourism in their regions, and actively participate in that. We're also very privy to research that comes out of Brand MT that they keep that helps understand the dynamics and the changing market of our tourist, what they want, what they're spending, where they're traveling to, and such like that. So that is kind of the majority of the role. We meet 3 times a year. Usually it's a 1-day meeting or a 2-day meeting. One of those is usually virtual, completely virtual. The rest are hybrid, like the other 2 are hybrid, like your meetings. Outside of the 3 meetings, there's about 40 hours worth of work. that needs to be done over the year. For about 20 of that is done reading all of those marketing plans, reviewing them and providing comment. Every council member doesn't have to read every plan, but now that we're down to 9, it's kind of good to know, or you can pick and choose which ones you want to review that are most important to you as a council member. But we would love to see that seat filled. And I really enjoyed your conversation right before lunch about your own opportunities and challenges you have filling board positions and going through all of that. And I would love your thoughts and insights on how we can best go about asking or procuring a tribal government representative on the council.
We have one before. What
4
was
years?
Lane?
Lane, yes. And then when Lane when Lane was no longer on tribal government, Lane stopped coming to the meetings. And then we struggled to get a reply from Lane as to why during 2 years they weren't coming to the meetings. And finally he replied to me and said, "Oh, I'm not on tribal government anymore. I didn't think you'd want me." And I was like, "Oh, we'd want you till we could get a replacement." And
Yeah.
so that was under previous board chair leadership. But yes, so when Lane was no longer on tribal government, but I'd love to take any advice that you can offer so we could fill a very important seat on a very small council now.
Wow, it's hard for, I think, this commission to speak because, well, you're on tribal council, right? I mean, that's the hard part is, I mean, we could offer a little bit of insights, or we'd have to reach out to our council members to see if they're interested. I don't know. Sean, how would you go about it at Crow?
I would go to the, I mean, you would go to the government, I guess, because I'm not a, kind of tough to talk about.
Yes.
Kind of, the structure is kind of not there, so it's, you have an email or whatever, you can just collaborate with them.
Directly
Yep,
to
yep.
the chair of.
Go ahead.
Chairman Gray, may I make a comment?
Please.
This is the line that cuts through for Fort Belknap. For Fort Belknap, but maybe perhaps like other tribal governments, to entertain such a seat, especially coming from tribal government, only limited to tribal government, seat. I would request a letter to my President Jeff Stippar.
Okay.
Formal letter introducing yourself, just kind of explaining, generally, and then let me do some footwork on briefing the president about this opportunity and for his pre-consideration to discuss it with the rest of the tribal council. And then just a formal letter, dear President Stippar, this, that, whatever, and then send it formally, you could send it to me, I can give you my president's email address so that, he can entertain it and bring it to the tribal council formally, perhaps in a committee meeting or something. Or just discuss it off record and see what they like to do. That's what I would recommend for starters.
So what if you get 8 nominations? Then how do you decide?
We don't as council, it's the governor.
Oh, the governor.
So it's the
Okay,
same boards.mt.gov and Hannah. So as council members, we do not see who's put in to be nominated to be on the council. We learn, like everybody else, in a press release when the governor's office sends it out. So I think it would be lovely to have that many come in because June of 2024 we'll have that open vacancy, an additional vacancy as well. So if we had numerous tribal governments, yes, because we're on a 3-year term.
Okay.
So to get us to that 9, so I mean, I think it would be wonderful to have more than 2 seats represented by tribal members. I think
Well,
that would
once
be
you send out a
lovely.
letter, you very well may have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
This will be a first outreach to us.
Yes, yes.
Chair Gray, I just want you to know that the last number of months I have been sending out information regarding this and these positions being open. I just know you get flooded with tons and tons of stuff. So it's
Ooh.
probably,
To
yes,
us, probably.
yeah,
Our bad.
So, no problem. Just so you know, and again, it just to let you know that there've been some soft efforts and these things have been mentioned, but when you're just flooded the fire hose of information and you've got really high priorities, it can be tough to find the bandwidth for this stuff. But when we're talking about the number 1 or number 2 moneymaker for the state, and to have tribal representation at the TAC level, I believe that isn't there still also an opening at the Glacier Country level? That's just
Yes.
it could be a tribal member, it could be a non-tribal member, anyone could fill that role. So potentially that slot could get filled and you'd end up with 3 on the council. So those were the things that I've been making sure you were aware of, these opportunities. And I'm really excited about this MOU because when I came on, I didn't fully understand how this MOU operated. And as we've been having this conversation over the last year, I've come to understand that there's actually a lot of guidance in this for me in my role that I didn't realize was already put in there, And so I'm excited about what this future MOU is going to be. So anyway, we'll get to that, but I just want to make sure that we wrapped up anything else that you guys wanted to ask Alicia before we go to the brass tacks.
I've got one more request, if possible, is that we as the council have the opportunity to draft and curate the marketing plans that the regions and CVBs put together. And I would love to add, and with conversations with Rochelle prior to this meeting, I would love to add a question onto their marketing plan about and I would love your feedback on particular language, but initial thought would be, what is your region doing to promote tribal tourism? And they have to answer that every year, but I would love to consider other variations of that theme or to be more specific, because these plans do get published on the Brand MT website for anyone to read. But with talking with Rochelle and looking through our MOU, that is something I've noticed that is part of our statutory responsibilities, but we're not asking them to put it in writing, right? To put it down for the rest of the world to see. And I would love to put that back to the council of adding a question specifically about tribal tourism. And I'd love your thoughts on that.
Oh. Scott, you have a question?
I guess, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Alicia, I would be happy to help co-author a letter of request for names and we can certainly help you follow up and see if we can get recommendations so that we can fill that slot. We all know how vitally important it is. And so I just want to make, our commitment that at Department of Commerce, that we really want to make sure that we have appropriate representation and meaningful representation so that we can build, help this part of the economy build. It is really important to tribal nations, and I think we're seeing more coordination and more communication this year around powwows and when these events are happening, and I think that's great, and now we just have to keep moving forward. So I'll be happy to help with that, and certainly if there's anyone, just encouraging all of you, the STED membership, that even if there is no nomination that necessarily comes from the tribal chair or president, I might just request that if you know of someone that would be good in fulfilling this role, that you perhaps could ask them if they would be willing to do that or not. Just as a secondary fallback, if we don't get a response, because we really want to fill these slots.
That's great. Appreciate that, Scott. Going back to first of all, I'm shocked that it isn't being asked already, but I'd love to see that asked at the regions for sure.
Great. Yes.
Because every region has some sort of connection to Indian country, right?
Yes.
And I think it's really important that we know what are they doing, Yeah. For me, Definitely want to see that.
Great.
Yeah.
I think we're Russell country.
Missouri River.
Missouri River.
Missouri River, it changed.
I don't know where's the border on that one. Russell Country or Missouri River Country? Right, Rocky Boys. have
Missouri,
been
or
at
sorry,
it.
Missouri River Country.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that
Yes.
includes Fort Belknap over
A Rocky Boy,
to, no, I think Rocky Boy is in Central.
Central.
that Russell Country,
They,
out Central.
they're now
Country.
called DMOs
Used to
instead of
be.
regions and CBDs, destination
Indian
marketing organizations,
Yeah.
but they, a number of years ago, most of them changed their names.
Sean had a good idea. We'll just call it Indian Country.
Yeah.
That's right.
I like that.
You're right, that you're correct.
changed
Glacier
it
and
changed the
Missouri
names.
were the only ones that didn't go by geography.
Oh, that's
So
right, because
they changed to Central,
Old
Southwest,
West,
and Yellowstone Country. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, you got this, you got the state chopped up into 6 regions, and then Indian Country is all of them. So it's considered the 7th region.
without the question that
Without the question,
needs to be asked. because
but being
what are
chair
we doing?
now, I can
Yeah.
make some changes.
So
Yeah.
I'm surprised that wasn't being asked,
Yeah.
because we've always said, hey, wait a minute. you
Right.
know,
Mhm.
People come to Montana to see the national parks and Indians mostly.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
what are you doing?
So Rocky Boys and a good portion of Fort Belknap is considered to be part of the central Montana region. And then the eastern side of Fort Belknap and Fort Peck is in Missouri River country. So really Fort Belknap gets it because you get should have promotion from both of them.
How'd you work that? Sean had a question.
Chairman Gray, Sean Backbone. Remember that, when it first started, that tourism kind of group? Does that affect this? Or not affect it?
No.
They're
no.
separate?
Yeah, they're separate.
Okay, good.
Completely separate.
Good.
Yep,
I just wanted to clarify that.
you bet.
Yeah,
Yes.
Alicia here. I attended the meeting they held after this year's governor's conference on tourism.
Oh.
So I introduced myself there. Yeah, made some connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that group, Commissioner Backbone, that group is, it's loosely based. You know, you've got tribal members, you've got some business operators, you may have some people who are involved in tribal government or operating tribal entities. So it's a mix of folks that are in that kind of volunteer group. Yeah, this is definitely more formal. And these are government appointed positions for yourselves as well as the TAC members. And then this MOU and this relationship between the TAC and the STED was established with Senate Bill 309 in 2017. And so that's what brings us, when you're ready, we can go into the brass tacks of this MOU. So since 2017, again, Rochelle Brown, Tribal Tourism Officer, there's been some laws that have changed, the last few sessions. And so like Alicia was mentioning, the structure of the TAC was something that got reshuffled and slimmed down after this last session. So this current MOU is currently under review from our legal team to make sure that this language that's in this reflects the most recent laws that have been passed. So there may be some things in here that you'll see, maybe they've been changed since 2005. The main thing that I can think of is after the session, beyond the restructuring of the TAC, was the passing of Senate Bill 540. In this original document, it references that the Department of Commerce received 60.4% of the bed tax of the 4%. But after 540 passed, it's now at 60.2%. And 540 also did pie pieces of that bed tax Department of Commerce receives. The TAC has been invited to be involved in some of the definitions and the rule changes and helping to inform Brand MT and the marketing department and our grant department and the revolving loans, these new things that are coming up. So we'll have a lot more to report to you come November. But when it comes to Chair Gray and Chair Harvey signing the new MOU, it'll have all the most up-to-date it'll reflect up-to-date current laws. So the main things that I would recommend that draws your attention here are the visitors bureaus in the regions incorporating Indian country into their marketing plans. We'd like to have that as a goal to be achieved, and to be maybe even providing get some feedback from the STED on content creation, promotional plans, what events need to be featured, ways that, like Brenda Moss is doing a great job of this in Southeast Montana, trying to do outreach with Pro Northern Cheyenne to ensure that her products are cross-promoting businesses and events in Indian country in the Southeast region. That's a great example of what could happen across the entire state. So that's one thing. Another thing is, this very well could say that I need to be showing you a marketing plan for Indian country from tribal tourism from the 0.5%. So about that, the money that is collected for the 0.5%, this last year, for my portion, I guess it was approximately $281,000. My position has authority to spend a little under $200,000, and 120 of that approximately goes out in grants. So that leaves me with around $70,000 to $80,000 that can be used for the guidebook, for photography, for, you know, again, like if we're going to do the Indian country passport idea, I don't have the authority to access all that money. So that money ends up going into like a reserve account, and it just sits and accumulates and accumulates. So that's a legislative level. The legislature has to approve that the tribal tourism officer can access all those funds. The majority of tribal tourism is supported by Brand MT, the event grants. That's not me. That's across the hall. That's Office of Tourism does the event grants. They do larger infrastructure grants for big projects. So when we harness the power of both of our departments together in those resources, then we start to really make a difference. But the 0.5% by itself isn't able to do it. It's this other portion from Brand MT that gets us over the finish line. So some of those components are what we're going to be looking forward to as deliverables for this next year.
Cheryl had a question.
Oh, hi. Actually, just a comment. I was just thinking about that group too that Mr. Backbone had mentioned, the Montana Tribal Alliance group that's forming. And, you know, they had a pretty big showing at the Governor's Tourism Conference. And I would just suggest that perhaps that group may be given an invitation to also nominate someone, unless it has to stay within the STEDS Commission. But we would like, because I'm a part of that group as well, but we would like to, you know, align the goals and objectives with what the STEDS Commission has, along with Montana Tourism. And those are, as Rochelle had mentioned, they're volunteer positions, so they are committed to tourism. It might be a benefit to have them, someone within that group, be nominated as well, because like she said, it is loosely put together with a, you know, combination of all tribes and small business owners on the reservations. And I don't know if that could be done, but that was just a suggestion for this tech. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. Yeah.
Danny Morrison here. I feel like there's a lot of good discussion going on here, but what I feel like could be an additional component to this conversation is getting a timeline down of when can we make these meetings with the tribal council leaders to ensure that we can get permission to do that, and then also that, you know, we could ask of you to help us in doing that, because, you know, as we continue to reach out and not get responses, we need someone inside to ensure that we, you know, can get on that council agenda, or that, you know, it's promoted that, hey, there's this pot of money here that we can do something with, and we need better representation. And that's my goal here, is to ensure that those seats are filled with tribal representation, because it hasn't been filled in some time, and And that's the only way that I think we're gonna ensure getting these funds for our communities. So if we could ask that help from you, that would be really helpful to us.
CCB. I've been kind of appointed by the business committee to work with state agencies. CCB, I'll make sure it gets on the agenda.
Great, thank you very much.
And thank you, Delina, for also offering that groundwork here as well.
October is, it's Alicia, October is typically the start for new council members. And I think that would be up to Scott and the governor if they wanted to appoint them earlier, but I think October starts the new year.
That'd probably be best. Yeah, get them in a new cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. When do you see this being finished, or so we could grab?
So the goal is to have the updated MOU with the most recent changes to law September 8th, so that we can get it contracted and signed before September 30th, which is the expiration of the contract.
When's the
of the
next
MOU.
meeting? Well, I'd like to, instead to see this too, before I sign it.
Oh, yeah, sure. We can have the draft. Once the legal gets it to me and says this is the copy that has all the updates from any changes from 2017 to now.
Yeah.
We can send it out to everybody. Everybody will be able to review that,
Okay.
but we won't be able to wait till another meeting because it'll expire. So we have to get it, it has to be
Okay, but I'd
signed.
like to make sure they see it, so that if
Absolutely.
any input that they, before I put mine in.
Right, and your meeting is November.
Yeah.
The next council meeting is October.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's okay, I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing with you just because there's a month that goes or two that goes by, but I think it's important that both of our councils see before we sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a
If that's
feeling,
okay.
I have a feeling that in the next week or so, because the legal team is on this.
Okay.
So I think that
Oh,
very
okay.
soon, you're gonna get a copy to look at.
Okay.
If we need to get on a Zoom meeting or something, because procedurally, I don't know if the council needs to come together at an interim off-calendar meeting to discuss it, or how does that typically work, Chair, when?
Didn't we just do it on, just via email?
We have done it via email. I
Yeah.
think that's okay. I'd have to double check. Maybe Leanne knows. But I think it's okay if we got an email back from the majority saying that we could sign. I think that would be okay.
Okay.
Great.
We'll do it that way.
And I think the other thing that we talked about, Alicia, and with you guys a year ago, the meeting a year ago, we talked about what we would like to see in terms of strengthening that relationship between the TAC and the STED. And it really is, whenever possible, we as staff are going to share and make sure you know when their meetings are happening. They know when your meetings are happening. They're public meetings. You could always decide if you want to be on the agenda. So for like Crow Fair, for example, if you wanted to come and do a presentation at a TAC meeting, speak during the public comment period, or if they are able to add you to the agenda, say who you are, where you're from, what your event is, how the regions and CDBs can support those.
Yeah, no, it was great. I was invited to the Great Falls one, but they kicked me out right away.
You are doing a good job of informing. At least I'm getting all the emails.
Good, thank you. Good. Great. And
Sharing them. I'm sharing them with the people that we should.
thanks. We know, I know you guys are so busy. It's the busiest people that wearing all the hats. And so just appreciate that you're able to stay engaged with you pulled all different directions.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And definitely ask that question.
I sure will. Thank you
Cool.
very much.
Great.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was that. So if we can, we'll just wait to have Luke go and then wrap up. Sounds good.
So you're the closer?
Nope, I think, well, I am the closer, yeah, sorry. Luke is next and then me. Sorry, you're gonna definitely get tired of me today.
Luke, you're up.
Force be with you.
STED Commission and guests. I'm Luke Robinson, the Native Entrepreneur Development Specialist. And my update for the Indian Equity Fund is I'm spending the fiscal year 2023 money pretty good. Got some of the NAVAs back on board to help me with that. So trying to expedite that this month before the next cycle opens up for 2024, September 1st through October 31st is the next round. And we're changing the platform on that. A different format for most of us. So we have to figure that out this month and get it all squared away in time. It's going pretty good, I'd say. I got some good businesses this year. I just haven't done the site visits as I have been doing historically this time of year because of the changes and the modifications in the grant last cycle with the NABAs being taken out. So that's all right on that end. And the NABAs, the Native American Business Advisors, they all went well this year, minus compliance with one. Therefore, they didn't get awarded a contract. That was the Dakota Ani Credit Agency. So they might not be, we'll see next year how if they meet the requirements or it's open to any other entity to apply for that tribe. So we'll be working with them then and getting our numbers, getting their technical assistant numbers and data collected and stuff. So I've been working on those ends and getting pulled in a few little areas. This meat facility for tribes, I think it was up in Fort Belknap with West Kill Eagle and a consultant from Phoenix. I attended that meeting and they want to do that work with tribes, but I haven't really been followed up with that with Leanna or anybody. So on that end, and I do like data. So I've been working with Accelerate Montana on a study for Indian country and capital flows, banking, loans, stuff like that. And it's going to be probably presented in the Business Bureau Economic Research next year. It's a real intensive study, but I kind of saturated it with Indian country, so I got a good representation of applicants or feedback and people and their data. So I'm excited for that one. Just attended a meeting for Southeast Tourism for the region for Crow and Northern Cheyenne. Just got invited to Miles City with Brenda Moss for that. So got to learn about some of their initiatives. They want to feature some artists, Northern Cheyenne and Crow up at the airport, the new redesign of the airport. And I just want to get some feedback from that. From a few artists in town I can think of, traditionally Ben Pease, Kevin Red Star, Bentley Spangle, guys like that. Maybe reach out to make it kind of a competitive bid for them to be featured up at the airport with the new redesign. So it's looking pretty good up there. But that's all I have with my updates. So thank you, STED Commission, if you have any questions or comments.
They get paid in time?
The grantees.
NABA.
Oh, the NABAs?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all got paid. They all got paid at the end, before fiscal year end, I try to rush it through, getting all their payments through. And I followed up with, accounting, and I think they did that on time, so.
Yeah, because there was questions last year.
True.
When we gonna get paid?
Yeah, most of them got paid again on time this year. And that's one thing I'm gonna work on next year because they try to split it into 3 payments, and that was really burdensome and just a task to chase around. So maybe one big lump payment, do the work, and follow up with me. So they've been trustworthy and have great character year after year. So that would be my suggestion this year, is just one lump payment.
And then when you announce the new Union Equity, let us know, because that's a big thing for our business. They love that. I think we get I'm sure you get a lot of applications.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Chairman, I was thinking about that too, with the changes in the guidelines as well. It's a good idea to maybe just shoot that out through our channels. I sent to the NABAs, of course, but the STED Commission is one I've been kind of.
Yeah, then we can push it out there.
Yeah, disseminate that. Okay. Noted, thank you.
Any other questions for Luke?
Chairman Gray, I just had a question for, this is Delaney Fitzgerald for Belknap. Supposed to say names. What did you say about the northeast corner, West Kill Eagle?
Oh, yeah, there was a meat processing facility kind of pitch up at that hotel, that Holiday Inn in Great Falls.
Oh, in Great Falls.
Excuse me, yeah, Great Falls. And I have a packet at my house I was supposed to give to Jason, but you know,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know where it's at.
Yeah, let me know about that because that's my area too, you know, to see what, if he needs anything. I know they're always, you know, support them pretty heavily for their, you know, the Dotson Fair, and then, you know, they have like rodeo and whatnot. That's a big tourism event for Dotson and Malta. But yeah, let me know what's going on there.
By the
Thanks.
butcher there.
It was the guy from Phoenix, Mike Torrenson.
Yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, I can discuss that later.
Did you see that?
Follow up with you.
Did you see that $50 million grant that just passed us by last month? $50 million grant for meat processing.
Okay, maybe that's what they're trying to
Maybe
capitalize on.
next year, I don't know, but yeah, we
Wasn't
passed.
he throwing money away or what?
No, it's a federal grant, but $50 million. So I was just wondering about that. You know, when you mentioned him, I don't know. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Good one. Thanks, Luke.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate the update.
Pleasure.
All right, our closer's up. We'll be talking.
Chairman, Madam Chairman, Assistant Chairman, I'm Danny Morrison, Ogallala Lakota, and I was just recently hired, as you heard earlier, at the Museum of the Rockies. And I was talking about how it's the first time ever that a Native person has been hired at a place like a museum, which I think is significant in that there's also a lot of work to be done with tribes in honoring the way people are represented, but I think that there's a lot of networking to be done in this space as far as how the Museum of the Rockies can offer support and work with the different ways that each individual communities are trying to create ways to get people into your communities, right? And so I'm hoping that we can continue these conversations and I can learn from each one of you and your communities and how we can create those efforts and work together to support your efforts as well in your communities, but also creating an avenue of like through social media or whatever the case is, and offering, you know, like Crow Fair, like we were talking about putting Crow Fair, putting this on our website, and like how many other things are going on that we could put on our website at the museum to honor all the communities and the things and the beautiful things that you guys are doing to get more eyes seen in a place like Bozeman when they're traveling through the state to see all the Indians, right, and museums. And so, you know, if there's any insight to how you would like to partner in that way, I am all ears and I welcome the chance to hear from all of you if you would like to contribute to that conversation, or if you have anyone that you would like to suggest for me to speak to in your community, I would appreciate that very much, because I think it's really important to change that trajectory at the museum, but then also have a much more prominent stance of Native people in these communities and represent that at the museum. And so, yes, thank you for letting me speak to you today.
Yeah.
If you have anything to share with me or any feedback.
So, thank you.
Yes.
It's good, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
It's good to see somebody working at the museum instead of in the museum.
Yeah, I think for sure, like, and I'm a PhD candidate at Montana State University, and I am history. I teach Native American Studies at Montana State, and so I hear a lot of people who are from out of state who want to know about Indians in Montana and have no prior knowledge to even their own Indigenous people of their own state, you know. And so I'm like, hey, yeah, if you want to learn about Indians, come to Montana. We're going to do a good job and share good information with you. But I also honor being responsible and offering responsible education and good education at that. So
we also too, and doors open for, any cross promotion is good.
Mhm.
If you're promoting something that we may
Absolutely.
have, you can send, if you're gonna do something,
Yes.
send it to us, we'll promote it
Yes,
too.
and so I was hired because we are creating a new exhibit at the museum. And we're moving the exhibit that we have, thank goodness, it's gonna go away. And we're gonna create an entire new, like 3 different portions of like art and history and storytelling. And we're gonna represent each tribe based on perspective of a tribal member, but also to honor, you know, that each tribe has multiple perspectives and diversity in their community, so people understand, you know, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. We're very diverse people. So the more access I have to those individuals in your communities who can offer insight or be a representative in that way, would be really helpful for me as well in like making contacts and ensuring that I get the right people from your community involved. So, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. So yeah, please send any press releases you have to our tribal
Yes.
newspaper, the Charcusta News. I don't know if they're on your rotation of who you send
No.
information out to, but you know, some of us have tribal newspapers and, you know, they can get that out to
That's
our
wonderful.
readership. And I think on during the break in a smaller conversation, I was talking about how but I'll tell the whole group, our website for our tribe is being redone. And it's been over a year-long process. I hope any of you guys have redone your website, but it's more complicated than I think anyone could have imagined. So one thing that I asked for, and part of it's because of my involvement with this commission, is to have our website include a page for visitors. Because I think for most of our tribal websites, it's for us. If you have a question or you need to get a hold of somebody, it's for tribal members. But I said, when people do a search for Confederated Sachem Kootenai tribes, they're going to look at our website and there's going to be nothing there. Like, who are they? Basic information. And, you know, in our tribe, you have to have permits to go on tribal land. Where do you get a permit? You know, just really some basic questions. And so, and I'm not sure when our new website's going to go live, but now it will include a page for visitors. So people, when they look up our website, there'll be, you know, intergovernmental stuff, but then there'll also be a section for people not from here or people who want to know more about us. But I think that, you know, that's something I think maybe is just a kind of good thing for us to know, because then we also control the narrative. So that
Yes.
people are getting information about us from us.
Directly, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that also that offers insight to how we can represent your tribe as well, and have links on our website that take you straight to the places that you want them to go when they're at the museum learning about your communities. So I can see that being a great opportunity to network and provide access, additional access to those spaces. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, thank
Be a
you.
good section for Indian.
There's a lot of Indian covered at the museum. Yes. Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much.
Closers up.
All right, here we go.
Thank you again, everyone. Rochelle Brown, Tribal Tourism from OIST. Thank you. I'm taking it, definitely. It's great. Yeah, so I'd like to just start my update with you about some really important things that are for this upcoming grant cycle. We are transitioning away from Submittable, which is the way Submittable is a software program, online program that people typically will apply for grants through. We are going and being migrated into a program called ServiceNow. ServiceNow is a state-operated system. We as staff all have to build our grant cycles. It could be clunky, okay? Because this is, we're all, that's just what happens when you start a new cycle, a new program. It can be hard for new users to set up their Okta account and figure out how to get that account set up. It can be difficult for us as staff to make sure that all the information is user-friendly, that all the links are working right. So I just want to give you that heads up, that this is new to all of us. And whoever in your departments, in your tribes, anyone, if you need us to contact them and help walk them through stuff, your planners, anyone, we know that customer service is one of those goals for fiscal year 24 that we in our department need to continue to refine and work on. So I just wanted to give you that very clear update so that you're not surprised and we're having a conversation about why didn't we know, in a few months. I want you to know that now. So loop cycles are going to open September 1st. That's for the Indian Equity Fund cycle and the NABA cycle. Then 2 weeks after that will be the Tribal Business Development Grant cycle, cycle 2. So that'll be opening. And September 15th. And so is yours a two month?
To October 25th.
Okay, so a month and a half. And then my cycle for tribal tourism, that one is going to open October 1st and run through November 15th, I believe, or maybe even to the end of November. So we tried to stagger these. We tried to give 6 to 8 weeks from opening to closing. So wanted to let you know those are up and coming. And then hopefully also by the next meeting, end of October, I'll know what tribal tourism and 540 means, because tribes are always eligible for those cycles, whether they are grants or low interest loans. There's just a number of different things that are going to be new products coming out of that. There's a 22.5% of the bed tax that goes and is allocated to the Department of Commerce, for which tribal tourism is a piece of that pie. That pie piece also includes emergency services, infrastructure, some marketing dollars. So we're waiting to see how this is all going to shake out. I did email something to Marilyn. I'm not sure if you're able to access it. It is an Excel file, and it shows what my initial pitch was for this 540 plan and for tribal tourism priorities. And if she's able to pull it up, great. If not, I can, oh, this is great. Thank you so much.
Hang on, let me share the screen.
You bet. So that these are just my initial hopes and aspirations from what I've been learning the last year and a half in this position, and having the privilege of coming and visiting your communities, working with your tribal staff that are writing these grants and trying to implement these projects. So if you wouldn't mind just staying at the top there for me, and you can scroll over just slowly on that one first cell. So the first thing is developing promotion and marketing. My salary is paid out of that big bed tax. It's not paid out of the 0.5%. So the first thing is, it's not me, but it's whoever is going to be the tribal tourism officer. That salary is going to have to be accounted for if someone's going to be in this role. And then on top of that, taking the Indian Country Passport idea, turning it into a gamified digital product. It could be expanded to where businesses, events, there could be numerous participants in the program, but the person who's doing the passport, they just need to get perhaps 3 businesses, 2 vendors, 2 events. You can set it up however you might want to per nation. So I'm really excited about its possibility, but it's up to others above me to determine whether or not we're able to go forward in that dreamscape, or if it needs to be a scaled down program. Then also working with my colleagues in marketing to, like we're talking about right now, winter promotion. What are the assets in rural Montana that we need to photograph? What do you do in your tribal lands during the winter? Cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, hunting, ice fishing, those kinds of things. So as we continue to get that kind of feedback from tribal representation, that's not only a couple times a year at the STED Commission meetings. That's me having opportunities to go out and meet at the tribal councils and have those conversations and have little mini summits for tribal nation. So I'll make sure that once this gets more cooked and baked and it's ready to go, then I'll share it with you. But as if Marilyn doesn't mind just kind of scrolling down, we've got again, grant programs, continuing to build out that infrastructure. I've got an idea of trying to do a grant program that is parallel to Loops so that we could potentially double the Indian Equity Fund cycle. We've got small businesses, maybe car washes and car repairs and things like that. And then we've got a cycle that's just for tourism businesses. So we might be able to, again, really penetrate Indian country with lots of small business enterprise. People that want to maybe do, again, small campgrounds, teepee glamping, tours, horseback riding, backcountry outfitting, taking people on lottery hunts, working with Fish, Wildlife and Parks. So there's a lot of different potential there. And then I think I only have a couple, the film. So not only the production assistant program that we just talked about, but then having money to potentially pay for small productions, video productions, and then taking these graduates and getting them hired and paid. And then they can add that to their resume. And they will actually have a deliverable project that they can show as a part of their portfolio to help get them hired on bigger projects. And then see those, and then let's see. Yeah, just more marketing campaigns, more money for events. So I'd like to, go ahead.
So
Chair
on
or
that,
Commissioner.
you don't have one up there, teepee creeping.
I don't. Yeah, someone was telling me about that yesterday. That's a product we can develop. It might be something
It's a
where
cultural difference, but we could train.
I think we can. It could be a stamp.
Oh,
We
yeah.
could develop a stamp that's designed with the,
Forehead.
yep,
Put it on the forehead.
exactly. And if you get it, that could be like kind of like a Smurf or something. Could be very special. And this idea, of the passport,
Mhm.
it's kind of like Pokemon Go.
Yep.
Remember that from, what was that, 15, 20 years ago now is Pokemon Go? But there's a way that we can make it really engaging, and there isn't a way to hack it. It's got to be something where you actually, there's GPS that's going to show that you were right there when you were there in order for you to get that authentic stamp. So, and each of you, each of the nations will be able to design those. So anyway, I have a lot of aspirations.
It kind of, all kidding aside, all of our tribes, we put up the teepee up different, so that's a stamp within itself. So if you like the Crow style,
Yep.
it's different than the Blackfeet, you guys have, I've seen them all, they're all different.
Yeah.
And they all have a story to them, so that could be, on that, that's something different.
Absolutely.
It has a story behind it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that there's maybe 4 points or 5 points and
3 points.
3 points? There you go. So those, and that's the thing. Those are the things that myself as a non-native would not know, but would want to know.
Yep.
So fantastic. Just a couple more things to wrap this meeting up. Just so you know, I'll be working on this. I'll be getting direction from leadership, find out how much money. I'm pitching for as much as I can so that we can really make a difference. But I know that the director's not going to give me a blank check. So we'll just see what we're able to do here. Visit that Marilyn and I had out to Hell Creek this summer was great. And we met with the folks at the marina, and they talked to Friends of Hell Creek. They talked about the desire to expand ADA accessibility, and that they have veterans that come out there every year. And there's a number of them that have to sit on the shore while other people go out on the boat because they can't get into the boat. They can't get onto the dock.
Yeah, we let them use the facility for free.
There you
Warriors
go.
on the water.
There you go. So what I'd love is if there might be a potential for them to submit for a grant, maybe even a co-application between Little Shell and the Friends of the nonprofit, the Friends of Hell Creek. to put in a substantial wheelchair accessible, a lift, something, you know, that, because they have these lifts that
Yeah,
folks,
swing out.
yep, exactly.
Yep.
So anyway, just want to put that out there as something that, that I think would be a really dynamic application for a future grant cycle. And then we talked about some of the stuff that's over at Fort Belknap. Delina's crew, they're just going gung ho so fast to have this vault toilet installed. I know it's not exciting, but it's so necessary. And we don't, you know, we want to manage human waste, right? So we want to make sure that people are being respectful of the land and that we don't have litter and stuff all over. And so anything that our funds can do to help support those kind of projects. Plus, it's going to have shade, you know, with it, informational kiosk, honoring an elder, all of those things, I think really make it more than just a place like you gotta go. You know, it's a place that you want to be.
It really is practical. I mean, because you know, if you look on the map where we placed it, you know, we have one at the campground kind of by King Springs where it goes up to King Springs. But in the beginning, I mean, we get a lot of complaints about that because we have hiking trails at the beginning of the mouth of the canyon that go up, you know, along the mountain, and those are really awesome. I mean, we get a lot of tourists that go there. Like, you know, there's no place. I mean, you know, you could go in the wild or whatever, that's fine. That's how you do it in camp, but it's so nice for someone to pull over with a family. They got little kids, you know, they need to pull over and they need to go, and they could use that at the you know, at the beginning of the canyon, which makes a lot of sense. And so it's pretty practical and people just love it. I mean, they're just like, thank you. Yeah, all our relatives and visitors that come, they're just like, yeah, thanks, this is gonna be great. They're all looking forward to it. So it's gonna be.
Yeah, and Vice Chair Finley was asking about like, now what is this, right? But these things are $30,000 to $40,000. They are no joke.
Oh, wow.
And Missoula Concrete does it for Fish, Wildlife and Parks and so it's like when you go to those remote parks, right? They don't have plumbing out there. They're not gonna get a vehicle to come and pump them out or something. They've got to have a natural biological kind of system for them, you know, like a septic field or whatever. But they're now back ordered. They've had so many orders for these that they're not taking new orders until 2026.
Yeah.
So there's a serious need for it. And we're a huge state with a lot of remote areas. And so anyway, that's why these are big ticket items to be putting on for a grant cycle because they're really pricey. And then Richard, Commissioner Sangre and I were talking yesterday about things for Rocky Boys. What are some additional things could we build out for Rocky Boys? And he mentioned a zip line. And you know,
what are you doing?
Exactly, exactly, zip line, yeah.
Coming in.
Exactly. Yeah, but those,
Downtown Vegas.
they're, you know what?
That's great.
Yeah, exactly, like over West Glacier, Columbia Falls, they've got a couple of these kind of jungle gym, you know, obstacle course, things with ropes, and I mean, there is so much potential for activities and things to expand the season. So, you know, we just need to, I just want my department to help make some of those zipline dreams come true. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say about the events is I have heard from grant priorities. Those that have received event grants, we're gonna start to taper those down.
What are they?
So the event grant pays for a few things for an
Oh,
event.
the board stuff.
Yeah, so it's like advertising. You could, it could be an advertising contract, social media, traditional advertising, newspapers, radio. Event infrastructure, so we'll pay for porta potties, wash stations, a percentage of the venue rental. And then on the day of the event signage, directing people parking here, vendors there, up the road, turn left, you know, that kind of stuff. The way that we're gonna have to balance all of these priorities as a result of 540 and not knowing what bed tax we're collecting. We're making guesses on our budget. We don't have a known budget now. And so we're gonna have to be really conservative, which might mean towards the end of the year, more money's coming in, then we might be able to all of a sudden add more money to our programs. But we're gonna have to start really conservative. So for events that are gonna be sponsored through that cycle, should it continue, the first year will be a higher award. The second year, if it's granted, will be a lower number. And then the third year will be a very low number. And then you're not eligible again. So the intention is to try to make these events more self-sufficient. I have some recommendations for consideration about monetizing these events for non-native visitors. Having them pay for parking, having them pay for a certain area that they're invited to sit at around the powwow area. Having places for them to potentially camp that don't compete with family camps that have a tradition. Maybe they're somewhere near where they can park their vehicle, set up a canopy in their camping chairs, and they pay $100 a night to do that. So there's all sorts of different ways to monetize it, but these events are expensive. You've got folks that are coming a very long distance, they're competing for money. And there's gotta be a way to help add that money to it. And we in state government, we can't give money towards prize money. So we've got to have ways, you know, that we might be able to help in monetizing some elements that benefit the tribal community, that don't cost the tribal community, and help to undergird and support the cost of these events. So for anyone that's interested in looking at some creative ways to do that, I'd be happy to help.
That's a good idea. But remember, it's just not helping the tribal communities. It's helping the state because these people are passing through, staying and buying and whatever else. So
That's totally
I'll
true.
just make sure of that.
Completely, you're right, Chair. And the other point is that if they have an option of camping and being invited to camp around and paying for that camping privilege, they're not going to stay in Billings. They're going to stay at Crow Fair.
Right.
And so it's a way of keeping more of that money when they are coming. It's to have
It's a
them
win-win
stay.
for a lot of it.
You're exactly right. You're right. And if it's supported by your community, if your community invites it, if your community doesn't want it, then we don't want to promote things that is going to put them at odds with the community. So anyway, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good idea.
I'll stay at it.
Yeah.
So I got a question on also on that, it comes out of that vet tax, right? So what comes out of maybe it's just off the wall, but it's just what comes out of the marijuana tax?
I'm not sure. I don't follow.
Because a lot of these people come through are high.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And they could be high on life too.
So I don't know, but it'd be nice to tap into that.
So these are great ideas for legislative session.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think with your guys, the lobbyist that works with with some of the tribes, I think pursue those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Scott's got
Oh,
a comment.
Scott has a question. Scott, you have a question? Comment? 3, 2.
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I think he just said he had to drop off for another meeting, but he might have unmuted himself. And the cannabis money that goes to, I think, the heart program and some mental health programs.
Education too, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, any other business? Not, okay, motion to adjourn. So, okay, Richard made it, seconded by Sean. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, bye.
So program purpose, we're still here to help.
Good, that one's over.